So, and just to add some color to that, there was, you had Mike Bertino, who was the finance director full-time for the first part of the year. Then he went to part-time for a portion of the year. Then you had Andy Gould, who came in as interim treasurer. I don't even know if it was finance director because of the Manager Act. So he came in as an interim. On the accounting side, you had Dave Nalshazian, who was here for part of the year. Then you had Cheryl Wright, who was here on a part-time basis for part of the year. And then finally you had Laurie come in for part of the year. So there was a lot of moving parts this year, a lot of transition going on. What I saw is kind of what I expected, because when you come into a situation where so many hands have changed and you've got a lot of cooks involved in the process, unless it's a perfect situation, it's going to be very difficult to follow through from person to person. So while they thought they might be ready in July, there were things that were overlooked that said, okay, well, maybe Dave didn't make that entry or Dave didn't book that article. So we did see a lot of that those sorts of things happening that caused the delay.
But we've worked through them, if I'm not,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to have the impression that, there were
Right.
reasons for it. So
Right.
I don't want to, say that it was all a big old mess.
Exactly,
that it
right.
wasn't being done well.
Right.
I mean, we probably could have done things better, and even by them asking you to come in shows there might have not been a good understanding of the process
Yes.
of what other people did, because they're thinking they're ready, because they're asking you to come in, and then you find out they're not.
Well,
So-
when somebody says the reconciliations are done for 9 months, so you think you can do the last 3 months in 5 or 6 weeks, but then you start looking at it, things change. Oh, well, they weren't really done, and they weren't really as far as they went. So not putting blame on anybody. In fact, when I came in today, you're exactly where you need to be for fiscal 18.
Okay, that's good.
You're exactly, I mean, other than a couple of things which we'll talk about today, you're basically exactly where you need to be. So,
I just, so that people at home know what, we're talking about FY 2017 at this point. So this is half of 16 and half of 17. So we're not talking even about this year.
We're not current.
This isn't really that current, yeah.
right, exactly.
Just so that people
Yep.
know. We know, but.
It's the year ending June 30th, 2017.
Correct.
Yeah. So the findings are 10 months old. What's happened since is good news.
Good.
People have caught up. People have an understanding of what they need to do, and we'll go, like I said, we'll go through each comment. What I did provide Mary was an electronic version of the management letter. So if you hover over where it says TR, I believe it is, if you're doing it at home electronically, you'll be able to see the update. It'll pop right up.
Yeah, Mary gave us that information today.
So that's going to be that's just so you guys have a memorialized version of what I did today.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for coming in and doing that.
Yeah, no problem. That helps out our 18 work too, because it's a process we have to do anyway. So let's just start off with the financial side. Hey, the town's doing as well as it's ever done. You're still, generating revenues that are above forecast. You're still managing your expenses very well, so you come under budget. So even though you appropriated about a little over $1 million from free cash, your free cash is only about $70,000 less than it was in the previous year. So you're toggling right along between that 1.8 to 1.9 million. And I put a little illustration there of exactly what's hitting free cash, because I know this is a question that's always come up when we talk. Hey, what's in free cash, and why did free cash go from A to Z? And so it's all laid out right there. And again, pretty stable, which is, I think, a really good place to be right now, is in a stable process with free cash and your unassigned fund balances. Any questions on that?
Well, yeah.
Yep.
Did you say?
I had a question, Tony. Just, we're always wondering about this. So you see a lot of small towns. So how are we doing in that regard? Are we,
With the free
free cash,
That was
yeah.
gonna be my question, actually. When you say we're stable, or whatever you said, I was actually gonna ask, what does that mean in that respect of, like, what's the definition of that? When you say stable, we have a $14 million budget, $7 million goes to the school, we have 1.8 in free cash. When you say that's stable, of course it is, because it's a lot, but, you know,
I mean,
when you see other towns that are kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
comparable to
and we get
us-
lots of feelings that, opinions that, you know, we have too much free cash, and that when, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing at the same time. So
Well,
just give,
When I
think
say
about 4 or 5 other towns. Are we, that, you know, have similar demographics? So how do we compare?
Well, by stable, I mean stable with respect to yourself.
Right.
Okay, so you've gone from, your unassigned has doubled, basically, from 1.7 to 3.7 in the last 10 years. Your reserves have doubled on a GAAP basis.
Okay.
So you've done well financially. It means your revenues are not stalling. It means you're managing your budget well, and it means that you've used free cash every single year, but you continue to replenish it.
I think that would, when the lady from the DLS comes in, she would have a more broader kind of statewide.
I don't, yeah.
Probably a good
Yeah.
question to ask
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, you're.
We don't want to belabor on one particular thing so we can move through
It
this.
is higher, though.
Yeah.
It's higher than
The
the
surrounding.
communities. The state average is about 10% of
Of your
reserves
10% of reserves on your annual budget.
on
Of
your
budget?
on your expenses. So
On your
so you look at your expenses, and if your expenses are 15 million, the typical community has about 1.5 million in reserves, which is free cash plus stabilization. So you guys
We're
are
way ahead of that.
are,
good.
are, are above that.
We're significantly ahead.
That's good, because hopefully we'll have a new school someday soon to spend it on.
Joe, okay. Joe didn't want us to go down a track, I think, with this kind of questioning,
No.
that we have too much free
I
cash.
think
I got
the
it,
more-
okay,
the more the
so,
better.
so, that kind of answers your question, right?
Yeah.
We're higher in.
I just
the
wanted a
average-
general
Yeah, no,
comment,
that's cool.
yeah.
But one
Okay.
of the things you guys have done is established a pension stabilization fund.
Correct.
So using free cash to
Mhm.
to replenish, not replenish that, but to fund that is, I mean, you've got that liability that's out there down the road. So
And our
so when-
OPEB is fully funded.
OPEB is fully funded, so we're not worried about OPEB, but you got a $5-6 million pension liability. And so when we say we have 1.8 in reserves, we really don't. We have a liability that's out there that
A
needs.
future liability.
A future liability that needs to be taken care of, so.
Okay.
So I think it's a great place to be in, just as a financial
Okay.
person.
Thank you. Good. Anything else?
On the financial end, unless you don't have any questions on that, we can move on.
Do you have any questions?
Not on that.
No.
No, okay.
So informational item, talked to Laurie about this today, so you guys have done a great job with OPEB. If you go to the state's OPEB website, you'll see that you guys are in first place. in the state.
Yay.
So,
Yep, we're the
so
only one in the
good
state.
job, so you can give yourselves a round of applause. The thing I was really disappointed with is when the bond people came in, the valuation wasn't ready. So the 2017 valuation wasn't ready for them to look at. So they had to use the 2013 valuation, which showed an OPEB deficit. So I spoke to Laurie today. I said, that can't happen. And I'm not blaming Laurie. I'm saying that can't happen. You've got to get on these people, Laurie or Sue, either one. You've got to get on your OPEB people so that they have that report ready for when the bond people want to look at it and for when we need it for the audit report.
There was a couple
Every
of-
3 years?
There was a couple of things on that bond rating that were like that I think it would have potentially.
It
given
may have
us
helped.
A different perspective.
Because when I read it and I see $400,000 deficit in OPEB, when I see the report, I'm like, no, that's not true. They're 100% or higher. So,
How
so
much do you think that cost us in percentages?
I don't know if it did or not. I would have to ask the bond
No,
person.
you don't need to. but
So
yeah.
I don't know if it would have made a difference, but certainly it wouldn't have hurt.
Yep, of course. not.
That by itself, no, but there were, I forget what they were. There were a couple other things that.
And then
sa-
cumulative, that might have,
Yeah.
okay.
So, so you need to be on it now. I told Laurie, do it now. Andy's probably leaving June 30th.
Yep.
If Andy doesn't get to it, then it's going to get forgotten again. I said, just call, make the phone call, get this information now so it's ready.
Okay, good.
It's ready. When we come in and do the audit, we have it. So,
Okay.
so that's water under the bridge now. Can't do anything about it.
No, but we've learned from it, and we're gonna fix it.
Again, I think that was a function of, did Mike do it? Does did Bertino, it was one of those things.
Yep. And it's
And,
something that doesn't happen every
But
day.
it's only every 3 years, so.
Yeah, it's 3 years.
It's every year now.
Oh, it
it's
is?
every
Under the new
year-
standards. It's not a complete valuation, but they have to roll it forward, so they have to do a calculation every single year.
Oh, I was not aware of
It's
that.
the new
Okay.
GASB standards. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so the 3 years is gone, out the window.
okay.
But it's not the same cost. It's a much lower cost because they're rolling forward.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
All right, so let's go to the first of the findings, which is in the cash area. And what we found was that Laurie was actually preparing the bank reconciliations. She's the town accountant, so you got a conflict. She can't prepare cash reconciliations if she's the keeper of the records. So thankfully, Andy was overseeing that process. Going forward, I suggested that Laurie can't do that because if Andy is gone and Sue needs to be doing that role. We found that Sue has done the first 10 months of the year. So she's done through April 30th.
That's excellent.
So that's done. That segregation is going to stay in place, so that's nice.
Good.
So Tony, we had talked a couple of months ago about a cash and receivables policy.
Mm-hmm.
Should we still move forward? What's your opinion?
Yes, that was a good policy that you sent me. I liked it,
Yeah.
and yeah, we should.
Yeah.
The one we're going to be talking about
Yeah,
after this.
we
So
should.
you
We should.
think we still should do? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Good. And do you
So-
mind sticking around for that conversation after this?
It's-
I don't
it-
mind.
It immediately follows.
It ma-
Yeah, no,
we
I'll sit-
purposely
yeah.
put it afterwards, so we want
Yeah.
to talk about it and just see if you
Yeah,
had
no
any
no
input.
problem.
Thank you.
No problem at all. So there was a warrant, a 2018 warrant that was paid in 17. So that kind of really mixed up the reconciliation process. So again, don't know if that was corrected because that's an end of year thing, but went over it with Laurie. Let's avoid doing that with Sue. Let's not do that. So we'll look at that to see if that happens again. But hopefully now that they know, it's something that won't happen.
Good.
Then
How does that happen?
it's like a prepaid. So they had the 2008, the first warrant of 2018 was prepared. They should have waited till July. They paid it in June.
Got it.
Yeah, so they paid it ahead of time.
It's almost like your library stuff.
Yeah.
The third item on here is all right, so we've got let's see, right, okay, this is with the cash, the bank accounts with the vendor and the payroll account. So there's a lot of, and we talked about this a little bit this afternoon with Sue. This has not been fixed yet, and the town needs help from the bank to fix this. They've reached out to the bank, and the bank has not been able to.
What bank? Is it
It's Eastern Bank.
Eastern Bank?
So they need to get them in here and identify, there's about 10 items that total $33,000 that the girls don't know what that is.
So you're nicely saying the bank ignored them.
So can we?
And that's what it
as-
sounds like,
So,
from what they're telling me.
Yeah.
So, in your experience, like a letter from us to the bank, or do we just keep on calling them every day? Like with other towns, like, hey, this is the Selectmen, we need to fix this. Could we send somebody down, or do we call somebody? You know what I mean? I don't even know if
It may
that-
have to come from a higher person, yeah. It may
Like
have to
us.
come from you guys, yeah.
Okay, you want to put
Yep.
something together? We can
Yep.
do that?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank
So,
you.
but they have tried, like I said, and they just can't get any help on those items.
Okay.
There was a lot of old outstanding checks, but they weren't in a list.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand. Are they payroll checks and expense checks,
These are all payroll checks. This
All
is
payroll
$10,000.
Yep.
These are all payroll checks. So the town cannot provide a list of what that 10,000 is made up of. It's just a reconciling item on the cash bank statement. It just says old outstanding checks, and there's an amount there. There's no list. Normally what you would do is you'd add, first of all, you'd try to get them to the employees. Some of the newer ones we looked at today, and I said, well, why hasn't so-and-so upstairs go talk to her. see if she wants her check.
It's not that we haven't given to them. Could it be that we've given it to them?
Yeah, and they lost
just
it.
haven't cashed it, they didn't realize it?
Yeah.
They stuck it up on the refrigerator? and
Could be in
it's
the
behind-
laundry or whatever, yeah,
the kid-
exactly.
And they just forgot about it
Exactly.
behind the kids, you know?
Exactly. No,
report card.
you have given them these checks.
Okay.
They just have not been
I
cashed.
just want to make sure that, you said like, we have, okay, gotcha.
Right, they have not been cashed. But when she showed me the list of the new ones, I said, well, just call these people, talk to them, they still work here.
Now, how far does this go back?
The newer ones are only about a year and a half old, so those are not as problematic. These go back 3, 4, 5 years, these
And
very
they
old
could
ones.
range from a selectman not cashing his check for $1,
Exactly, there's some 91-cent checks on there. There's
which is
some-
me. That was a
Yep.
$1, which is me.
Yep.
Because you take taxes out of the $1 I get a year, and that's 91 cents, and I've never cashed it, so that's probably, that's me.
Could be that, there could be some that are a little bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, they'd have to be a little bit bigger to come up to
yeah.
$10,000.
So
Okay.
what I've told them with respect to that, since there is no list, make an entry. Just make an entry. It's gonna come back and it's gonna be revenue for the town.
I was just gonna ask you, by law, and I don't know the answer to this, you know, how long do we have to like keep them until we say, okay, is it 5 years, is it 10 years, is it 7 years, or is it?
You can keep them forever, but what you would need to do if
But
you
I'm
had a
saying-
list.
But I meant to say like, then we're not obligated any longer, because on most checks, they say they have to be cashed within 1
Oh, over a year.
So anything
over
we're
a
not-
year.
But being a good partner with people that have worked, let's try to get a hold of people. But
Yep.
the people, we
People
don't,
that don't respond.
yeah, we're not held it's not a liability
Right.
any longer, because then
Right.
then it'll just be zeroed out into free cash.
Right, right. So normally what you,
If someone came in with the check, I mean, I'm sure we'd reissue a new one, yeah, of course. yeah.
right, that's how it would work. You'd reissue a new one.
And maybe just because of this exposure, somebody might say, oh my God, I was too embarrassed, and and I thought I was gonna be a jerk,
Right.
but you know what, they actually really
Right.
want me to come and
Right.
get my $247.
Right, right.
Okay.
And just to be clear, this is not the town holding back paying people.
No,
This is people
that's
that have
why-
been paid
That's why I wanted
that have
to-
not cashed their checks.
That's what I wanted to
Right.
qualify when you were
Right.
talking, that we make sure, we've given them the money. It's sitting on the refrigerator behind the kid's report card, or it got
Yeah.
washed, or
Right.
whatever.
So, yeah, so hopefully, some of that can be resolved, and whatever's not resolved that's unknown, make an entry. There's no sense keeping it on
Okay?
the
next.
list. There was some minor cash variances between the treasurer and the bank, not the treasurer and the bank, between the treasurer and the town accountant. And the town accountant did make an entry to square everything to zero, which I agreed with. Trying to go back and find, some of these go back to the Warren days. It's just those little things that were left over. It was about a couple of $1,000s that just hung around. At this point, make it zero and then balance to zero going forward.
Okay.
So, and that was done. So, I agree with what Laurie did there.
Good.
And then last item was the bank reconciliations weren't completed until October. Well, they're on time now, so that's not an issue.
Terrific.
Any questions on the reconciliations?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. So on insurance, so except for what Laurie's done, so we had, the insurance was kind of a mess. There was a huge adjustment we had to make for $59,000. There's a deficit in a health insurance account. So for all of those insurance items, we were able to identify a lot of the ins and outs that weren't done correctly and help the town make some adjustments. So what Laurie has now done, the way insurance works and the way the withholdings work, it gets withheld from the person's pay, and then our check gets written to the insurance company, to the investment company, whatever it happens to be. You got some child support, whatever. It comes out of the pay, and the check gets written. So if you think about it, 5 comes out, 5 gets written, you got 0. So what Laurie did, she got to a point where, let me adjust all of these to 0, and then let me reconcile to 0. So there were a bunch of minor items left over after these $59,000 adjustments that kind of netted to almost 0, adjusted them out, so she's managing that process.
So going forward, it will
Yeah.
be 0.
On the one that's most complicated is the health insurance. There's probably a few components in there, so that's still ongoing, the health insurance. And at this point, the pieces need to be identified, and then you may have to take it to the tax recap or whatever. I'm not sure how that's going to be handled, but the pieces need to be identified, and you guys need to, I guess, discuss it as a board.
Okay.
Okay, so any questions on that?
Nope, thank you.
Okay, so here's a little comment on bond rating and maybe what you could do a little better.
You mentioned staying on top of the OPEB stuff earlier.
Yeah, well, the OPEB stuff. So some of the reasons that I interpreted in talking to your financial advisors of why you didn't go to AAA is, number one, it's a small town, and so there's a bias against smaller towns. So it's hard to get the AAA. And the Essex County pension system, we talked about that in the past. It's underfunded, and
That's a big one, yeah.
it's killing you. You know, you look at a town like maybe Newburyport, which has its own pension system. They're a AAA.
Yep, they are.
They got their own pension system, so they manage it. They do it on their own. They're about 70% funded, I think, where you guys are like 50% funded. So that hurts you.
Can we ask a question about that?
Yep.
Mind if I ask a question about that? We're in that. We've been battling with that for a while. We've even tried, I think, as a board, in understanding that that's underfunded and that fund is not doing as well or managed as well as we would like it
Right.
seen. And we tried to do something on the side, I think. Didn't we, guys? Try
That's
to-
what you're doing, yep.
Well,
Yeah.
first, Mike Bertino offered to, like, pay them more, so our percentage
They
would go
wouldn't
up.
take more.
Yeah,
They wouldn't take
Yeah.
the money.
Yeah.
Can we pull out? Is that even
Yeah.
like feasible, but is it for a small town again?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know
you'd
what I
need
mean?
legislative approval to do that. I doubt they
I
would
mean,
let
how
you
many
do that.
times?
I know.
For how long, when when other funds are performing well,
Right.
and they're underperforming,
Right.
and it's costing us money, do we say, okay, you just can't do it?
Yeah.
They're not as bad as they were. That's the.
They're doing much better.
That is true. That is true.
They're doing much
I guess
better.
we should try to.
Right now, the best you can do is what you're doing. You've established a pension stabilization fund, and you're funding that. That's really the best you can do.
Okay.
And when the bond rating people are going to take notice of that is when that fund starts to get
More money.
to a bigger amount of money. I think there's a small amount right now, maybe what, 100,000? Yeah.
150, I think.
Once that starts getting, maybe closer to a million,
a little bit higher
Yeah.
to what our liability.
they'll start saying, hey, that's offsetting the Essex County issue right
Okay.
now, because they do have quite a bit.
What else?
And then finally, the policies and procedures. Even though you had some decent policies and procedures, they didn't match up well to the Standard & Poor requirements. So, from what I understand, the Collins Center is doing something?
No, the DLS.
DLS.
DLS is doing something for you folks?
Correct.
So,
They're gonna come in about a month or so, and with policies that they, to recommend.
Recommend policies.
and then
Financial
financial policies too? So, could I get a draft of those before you approve them?
Sure.
Because what I'd like to do is cross-reference those to the Standard & Poor criteria.
And make sure that we're doing.
And make sure you're,
If we're gonna change it, let's make sure
Yeah.
we change it to what is gonna be best for us.
yeah, so please send me a draft
No problem.
when you get that.
You have that, Joe?
Yep.
Okay. Anything
Uh,
else?
Yeah, so Water Department article, I'm looking at this as an anomaly. It was a one-time thing, and that's completely related to the fact that there were too many people involved in the financial process. So one of the articles got forgotten to be transferred between the general fund and the water
Water
fund.
enterprise fund?
Yeah, which we had the town make at the end of the year. So that got fixed at the end of the year.
Okay.
Escrow balances, Laurie is still researching this. There's a couple of items on the list that she doesn't recognize what they're for. So maybe you guys might recognize the names that are on there. So what escrow is when somebody gives you a performance deposit. And if they never claim it, it's just gonna sit there. So some of these may have originated years ago, and we just don't know what it is. So, but there is a difference between what the bank account says and what the list says. So I think someone more knowledgeable of what has happened in town in the last 15 or 20 years probably should look at that list and say, oh yeah, that's so-and-so that did this. And that's, it may help that process out.
Okay.
What is a performance, what did you call it?
So if somebody, say, comes and builds your house, for
Mhm.
example, you got a developer comes in and builds your house, they have to give the town a certain amount of dollars to guarantee that they're not gonna rip up the sidewalks, ruin the roads, and do that sort of thing. They get that back at the end
Yep.
of the project.
Yep.
So,
Yep, yep.
you know what I mean? So
No,
some,
exactly. I just didn't understand the okay, now I
yeah,
understand it.
some contractors end up just forgetting about it and not grabbing the money, or something happens in the middle of the project drags out and never gets
So you
completed.
saying that there is a list with individuals on it?
Yeah.
And there is a number
There's a number, an amount.
with each individual?
Yep.
The bank has more money than we have list of people for, so it's a good situation to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good situation.
is.
But if we took that list and we went over it with Gary, DPW.
Yeah.
and, you know, other people.
Yeah.
Glenn Closey, the water department, whomever, and say, yeah, oh yeah, that was done, you know,
Yeah.
they signed off, we were happy with their work, you know, AG Construction can have their $20,000 back or whatever.
Some of it is
Okay.
interest. The town accountant is not required to record interest, but the bank account
Oh,
earns interest, but it's not $20,000. It's a smaller amount. But some of the reason why there's a difference is interest. Others is just because they don't know what to do with some of them.
Okay.
So again, a little help on that will help them out.
Okay.
Chart of accounts, we've talked about this for a few years. It looks like your company, actually, from what I heard from Andy, I guess you guys are evaluating another software company, is that?
Yep.
I thought we were kind of waiting for mergers to happen. No.
Is what it is.
Okay.
corporate situation with the software companies, yeah.
No, it's on the other end. I think software companies got bought out. And
Yeah, right.
It's
So
not
when,
that we're, you know what I mean, it's their, like, they can't support what we have
that's
any
right,
longer.
that's right. No, I understand that. This software company is moving away from the product that you use. So they bought 3 or 4 different software companies.
And
The
they're merging
product-
it into one.
Yeah, the product that you use,
Isn't gonna be,
they're moving away from
it's
that,
not
I
gonna be
found out.
supported any
Right.
longer. Correct.
So when I talked to Andy today, he thought that you guys might be looking at, outside of that umbrella, a different software company.
We might, but that's gonna, I think, all gonna take place after the new town manager starts and have a
Okay.
good evaluation of what we have, how can it be supported in the future, and where we wanna go.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Right.
he's very interested in the chart of accounts. He's mentioned it a couple times.
So, I mean, that's a true statement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're aware of it, and
Yeah.
we have a town manager starting July 1st.
Right.
so
No, and I
prefer
agree.
him to be part of it. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, and I agree with the holding pattern. I agree with it completely.
It's not hurting us, right?
Yep, not hurting you.
Okay. Yeah, we're aware of it. Anything else?
Yeah, there's a small amount of minor deficits in the special revenue funds. They've been around for a while. It's less than $10,000. What Laurie pointed out to me today is there's also a bunch of surpluses that have been around for a while that might add up to about the same amount. And I said, well, make one last effort, maybe talk to the police chief, the fire chief, the DPW, because some of those would be under their control, grants and whatnot. And if the information got lost somewhere in the shuffle, make an entry to deficits against the surpluses and forget about it.
Reconcile it.
Clean it up.
Okay,
So this management letter is a lot about cleaning old stuff up, is what it's about.
yep.
So, a lot of improvements. I think the biggest thing, just in my mind, listening to you, is the Eastern Bank thing.
To me, that's the one thing that would still be on this report if it wasn't fixed.
But general improvements.
Yeah.
That's good.
Excellent.
No, going in the right direction,
Couple
definitely.
things to address.
Can we move on now? So we can,
Or did you have anything else on the audit?
oh, I'm sorry.
No, the audit
Just wanna
is,
make sure.
Yeah, no, thank you. No. I
there was
think
some
it-
small appropriation deficits,
Oh.
6
thought
or
that
7 of
was the
them.
end.
Last,
What does that mean, Tony?
it means you overspent some line items by small amounts, it totaled to $3,000. Those should be on the tax recap. Those were journaled out to the general fund. I just wanted to remind Laurie that if that does happen, you've got to put them on the recap. You know,
You
just to
want to
follow.
or you did?
No, you have to.
You have to.
You have
No,
to.
no, no, no. you want to remind her? or
I
you-
already reminded
Oh, you
her.
did,
Yeah, I
you said,
reminded her
I wanted to
today that
remind
if-
her. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that she knows, unless you're telling us that we have to tell her.
If some line item gets overspent by, accidentally, because you don't really use POs and things like that, so sometimes you might go over on some line.
Yep.
You might not have a meeting at the end of the year to fix that. If that,
Transfer wasn't done. or
yeah,
something,
so if that happens, when you do your tax recap, you should plop it on there and raise it.
Good. Okay, so
That's
you feel comfortable with this, guys?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
Good. So let's move on to the reconciliating cash and receivables policy. So you said that you read it. Would you want to change it in any way?
No.
Clean it up anyway?
No,
Make
I-
it better?
I think I told,
You've been in contact
I
with
think I
Joe.
told Selectman Anderson,
Yep.
did I write that somewhere? Because that's exactly like I would have wrote it.
Well,
And,
it actually comes off your audit you did for the town of Acton, Mass, and we're not going to give you any credit. I'm just kidding.
No, I
don't-
think
I don't
he-
even
I
know-
think
I don't even know
I
if
think
you
he
have
might have
that.
got it. He said he might have got it from one of my one of the towns that I did.
And he-
So
I think it's the town that you live in.
yeah. So we did that
He-
audit at
he's
one
not
point.
going to
We
say
did that
yes or
audit
no.
at one point, but it was written. It was
Oh,
perfect.
I was
I'm
just
like,
kidding.
I couldn't have wrote that better myself.
So, okay, so I'm going to make, you want to make a motion, Joe?
I move to approve the reconciliation of cash and receivables policy.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. What do we do with this now?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'm going to guess, we're going to start to develop a lot of policies going forward. I think we need to kind of keep them in a place that they're visible to everybody. We should share this, obviously, with the finance group to answer your
Correct.
question. But then I think we kind of need a place where all of our policies reside, because
The reason
Yeah.
why, the reason why I asked that, it seems like we do have a lot of policies.
they're all over the place.
They're
They're all over
everywhere.
the place, and then when things come up, we say, well, we already have a policy. You're supposed to be,
voted that.
yeah, you're supposed to be following it this way. So I think that's the reason why I said it, Joe. I just don't want it to be another policy that we do, that we put into a drawer, and in 2 weeks we
Yeah.
forget about.
Well, I think, not to put words in her mouth, I think Mary's working on, one of her projects is to take our webpage and kind of condense and consolidate, and maybe have one tab that has all the policies in it
Great.
at some point.
So-
Isn't the state? You said the state is doing something with your policies and procedures.
Well, we signed the community compact, and the two things were financial policies and a 5-year. kind of
Okay, so it wasn't procedural.
No,
Paul,
no, no.
okay.
Ours were kind of old.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So we always, want to do better, so we asked them to take a look at it and to give us a recommendation.
Okay.
So, at this point, let's, obviously, we're going to, so, it's been moved and seconded, the discussion, we're going to pass it tonight, we'll pass this along to the finance people tomorrow, and ask them to review it. If they have any questions or concerns about it, I want them to get back to us immediately, just so we don't give it to them and they're not following it because they didn't understand it. And then, what Joe said, let's file it into that book so we,
On the website.
yeah, on the website, and we start collecting them.
Can I send you an example of like Winchester has got a great packet.
Please do.
Can I send-
Of all the policies? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and they have everything, so it'll show you what general law it applies to, what you should be doing.
Good, we can
How-
compare that to what the DLS brings in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'll send you that so that you can
Thank you.
hang
I
on to
appreciate
it.
that.
All right, good job,
Okay,
Tony.
it's been
Thank
moved
you.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
We will see
Thanks for
you
spending some
soon.
time here.
Yep.
Hopefully you got a good sub or a pizza down at the House of Pizza for dinner. Plummer Springs Road, bridge roadway closure. That's the next thing on our agenda. We were informed last week that they had to immediately close it because there were structural deficiencies that were apparent and were continuing really at an increasing pace. So they could not keep the schedule that they set forth when closing it in June. So one thing that I had this on here is because it's very concerning to me that we're losing egresses out of town. I understand that Newburyport has applied for a grant for an engineering and cost study and so forth and so on, and we're waiting to hear on that. And they But it's concerning to me that this might be closed because it's over a reservoir, and that's going to be very costly. And I think it means more to us than to Newburyport. So
Well, I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, to them, it's
Yep.
just a side road. To us, it's a, you know,
it's another egress.
it's an access point.
Yep, so I asked Michael to look into some Mass General laws that might be able to help us. I don't think it would be realistic for us to say, hey, Newburyport, this thing better be open in 6 months, but I want to make sure that we're making a combined effort, and everything we can do, hopefully even work together, because we've been in touch with Lenny Mayer and Senator Tarr's office, and they said that it's always better for two towns to work together in the state level to try to get things open.
Well, we've been in touch with
Yep,
the
and-
city of Newburyport, too.
Yep, with them, but
Paul O'Brien for the mayor's office.
again, I don't feel, I want to make sure that this is a priority, because, you know, next week there'll be something else, that probably, they're a big city with roads that have potholes and stuff in them, and, you know, I don't want this all of a sudden not to be the sexy thing to fix, and all of a sudden there's 4 or 5 other things that are major thoroughfares that they need fixed, and all the revenue goes to their efforts. So Mike, could you speak on kind of, and this actually brought up another road, Georgetown Road, while looking at it. So why don't you, could you speak to what you
Well, I
found?
mean,
You need to get closer to the
yeah,
microphone.
there are obligations of the towns, you know, with regard to access to other towns. And so, there are policies that they have, and there are statutes that do address it. I think there are some things that we need to do. I mean, one of the things I'd suggest is that we might want to contact the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission. You know, they have a general, and to make sure that on their list of transportation-related items, that this be, you know, get some urgency and some you know, ideas. And they cover both Newburyport and West Newbury. So.
And they lobby the
They
State
lobby for
House.
things, and
Yep.
they have, you know, and what they can do, so we want to reach out to them. So, then we'll look at also, you know, what obligations are, because I think that you can't just close a road that's an access way into another city or town. And we understand that it's a safety issue now, that's got to be addressed. But again, I think our position is that we don't want it to languish. We want it to be able to be addressed in a, you know,
Timely
aggressive manner.
Okay.
So,
Now, well, you and I were talking about this. The same principles, which we just kind of threw up our hands with, is with Georgetown Road. That same Mass General law applies to all roads, and that road was a road that that was closed by another town.
it wasn't really closed, I don't think. I don't know if they've done anything with it.
There's barriers on it now. You can't go through any longer. It was in such disrepair that I think, and maybe people were just throwing trash down there or whatever they were doing because nobody would go down there. Now there are Jersey barriers, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of Georgetown Road that after on the West Newbury line.
Yeah,
probably.
I bike there. You can't, no vehicles can get down there.
So tonight, there's actually people in the audience that are here just for this specific reason. They've contacted me when they saw the bridge closes, and they're not too happy about it, and just, I think, feel the same sentiment. Taxpayers feel the same sentiments, because I've gotten more phone calls that they just hope it doesn't turn into another Georgetown Road. So what I would have a minor discussion about, that we could ask Mike if he could get back to us maybe with his opinion on maybe sending a letter to Newburyport and sending a letter to Georgetown or Groveland. I'm not even sure if that goes.
Georgetown.
It's
Oh,
all.
Groveland, no, it's all Groveland.
Yeah.
It's actually in Groveland, it's J.B. Little Road,
Yes. Yep.
but there's no houses in it.
No. So I would actually. I would
They're
actually.
motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would actually ask that we do both. Maybe there. Yeah. I'm going to recognize you in 1 second. And then we do all that. So we're losing our access. Okay? Is that
So
okay
is
with
that-
everybody?
So, Mike, you were kind of saying a progression of how to address this?
Right, I mean, which one are you talking about?
Well, mainly.
Well, it would be all.
I
well,
mean,
it would be all of them.
Yeah, I mean, on Georgetown Road, obviously, it's something that's a condition that is existed for a number of years. We want to pursue that. With Newburyport, you know, I think that the object is to get the towns to work, the town and city to work together to get it, you know, get it addressed and to use, again, as you guys have done, is to contact state reps for assistance and other planning agencies. But we'll take a look at what, you know, we'll have to start a conversation with Groveland about trying to open up Georgetown Road.
Because that actually is in our benefit, Joe, because it's been closed for so long, so they can't have like an excuse, you know, you can't close accesses between two towns. There's a mass general law that prohibits you for doing that. And then, so then you have to go to, well, what's reasonable for them to close it to fix it? And so Newburyport could say, yeah, we understand that you don't want to do it, these things don't happen in a second, but we're going to probably, we want to push Newburyport to show us a plan and some type of thing that, hey, yes, we're going to get a grant, we're going to engineer it, then we're going to go out and try to get the revenues this way, and our projection is going to be in 2 years this will be open. I mean, I think we all can understand and appreciate it's going to take that long. But the one going into Groveland is, we've waited long enough. That's a little bit different. I think we could act a little bit faster, and I think we have some more legal recourse in that respect, because they just closed it, and we could say, well, we were waiting for you to fix it, and there's a mass general law saying that you can't do that. What are you doing? Is that okay?
Yep.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the bridge.
Me
but-
too.
Well, so am I. So am I. But if you lived on Georgetown Road, you'd be more concerned about Georgetown Road when they closed it. It's a catch-22.
Well, I live in West Newbury. My number one priority is the Artichoke River Bridge, and then Georgetown.
And the other thing
I would
is,
agree.
is the safety issue is that our ambulance comes from Newburyport, and so that's the second way in from,
Mhm.
If there's a
into
problem
town
with
for the
113,
ambulance.
Yep, okay. Could you please go up, is that on? Yeah, it's on. And could you state your name, please?
Good evening, board members. My name is Buddy Beard. I live in West Newbury here. Lived here since 1950, and I've watched the towns around manipulate and close roads. This will be the second road that the city of Newburyport has closed. We closed Curzon Mill Road, which is Emery's Lane, and now we're going to close this road. And we have some my concerns are we have Seabrook Power Plant, if there's an evacuation, we've got one road. If there should be a fire or a bad accident down at 113, there's no egress to get to West Newbury. You gotta go all the way to Newbury to come back around to get into West Newbury, and it creates a real safety factor. And the traffic in this town is tremendous compared to when I was a little kid. I mean, there's cars everywhere. Middle Street has become a highway, really. And we're taking all these cars, we're gonna put on 113, and if we have a school bus accident down by the All Saints Church, the road's shut down. We can't go and come, not so much for our own personal use, but if something else happened at the other end of town, we had a fire at the school or something, we can't get any mutual aid, we're not gonna be able to get ambulances here, they're gonna have to get down 95, get on Scotland Road and come back around. I think it's, what I would like to see the town do is go to the city of Newburyport, go to court, get an injunction against them that would make them give us a plan to open the road after they do their planning and stuff. If we just tell them, yeah, when you get it planned together, when you can fix it, let us know. I think we have to mandate it. I think we have to lock them in there. And I also think it's probably a violation of interstate commerce laws. If we went back and checked that, the federal government would tell you couldn't do it. I think we really have to jump on Newburyport. All Newburyport wants from us is to show up their restaurants and spend our money there. They don't care about the cars or anything else. They just want our money, and they want to throw us out. And basically, that's what they've done. They shut Emery Lane down. Now they're shutting this down. Safety, I have no problem. It needs to be shut down, but they need to have a plan going forward. If we let them off the hook without a plan, we'll never get it open.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're all in agreement.
We
We're
agree.
totally in
We agree.
agreement with what you said.
And we're gonna do everything we possibly can to do that. So,
And I've started to eat dinner more in Amesbury and Haverhill now.
he started to eat more in Amesbury and Haverhill, so, okay, so Mike, you sent us something, do you have to look into it more? You want to get back to us and tell us what the course of action?
I'll prepare some stuff for you guys to send out.
How long do you need?
We can have it by the end of the month, so,
End of this month?
yeah, no.
Today's the 29th.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So,
Next meeting, your next meeting.
okay, so so Mary,
Sounds
could you
good.
put that on our next meeting? Thank you. Okay, sign on town property. Come on up, Jim? If you could state your name just for the records.
I'd like to thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you for
Anytime,
coming in.
buddy.
Thanks for coming in.
Yep.
Have a good night, buddy.
Good evening. My
Good
name is Jim Bradley. I live at 53 Ash Street, West Newbury, and operate a small, sustainable, family-owned farm, at which we have a farm stand, and in keeping with the new policies related to signs, I'm here to request permission to put a sign at the corner of Maple and Main.
Well, this actually, I mean, I know there's a new sign bylaw, but for what you're asking, that's not new because that's town property. Someone would have had to have gotten permission to put anything on town property. So kind of they're related, but in this case, it's not related.
Okay, so what you're asking to put one sign,
Yes.
and,
It's a two-sided sign.
and how big?
The sign itself is 2 by 3. The sign device is approximately 38 to 40 by 30. So it's the typical or the standard triangle A-frame white sign that you insert the actual sign into. There's a number of them on Main Street.
So
now.
so what would be comparable would be the one that's across from the library at the
Learning tree.
Learning Tree.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, you have any questions?
Well, I mean, I think the question before us is that's the town square, and do we say yes to person number A, and then to B, and then to C? I mean, if you say yes to one person, you have to, that kind of establishes a precedent, kind of like the training field. And, I mean, personally, nothing against you. I have publicly stated before, there's 3 traffic islands on Main Street one's at Maple, one's at Stewart, and one's at Garden Street, and except for, there's one sign that's grandfathered, that's been there for years, except for that,
At Garden.
yeah, excuse me, at Garden. I just think that if you say yes to one person, you have to say yes to everybody else. And I think we have actually said no to one person.
Yeah, so I could not support an A-frame sign like that because we've already made a precedent by somebody who asked to put one on Main Street for a daycare at the time. And it becomes, the length of time that you want it also becomes a management problem in the sense that there's high wind, there's high winds, there's rain, there's kids, there's whom else over there. And it's actually going to be more of a, I personally believe, a problem. I understand what you mean by the A-frame sign that we have in front of, across from the library at the Learning Tree. That was a grandfathered sign. It's more off the road. And it's just, they have their business there. So they see it every day. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different. This one would be up there. It would be, you know, in the square, taking over the square. So I couldn't, for that length of time, I couldn't do that. And it's unmaintained, you know what I mean? It's not even,
It's what?
it's like, it's not like, it could blow away. You know what I mean? Kids could go by at night and kick it over, and it ends up in the square. And it's not like the one at the Learning Tree, which, you know, when that one goes, there's not going to be any others there. That was from a previous board, actually, that let them put that there. But they come to that business every day. And if it's in the street or if it's down, they, you know, fix it. This one would be in a square that it could be, I don't know, you could be on vacation, or you could be somewhere, And it could be in the middle of the square. You know what I mean by, I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? It's just not like in the front of your house either. It's in the square, and it's,
I think what you're saying is true, but I think the bigger, at least to me, the bigger issue is if you say yes to one person, you have to say yes to all the other people, and we've already said no to one person.
Yeah.
What did we say in relation to the Christmas trees? Did we allow any in the square?
I didn't, because I won't vote for anything on that traffic island. I don't know what you guys did.
Well, there've been Christmas tree signs on that island since I've lived in West Newbury. for
That's
20 years.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, grandfathered ones.
we grandfathered them and won't let any others there, and they're there for a very short period of time. They have to go,
They're for the Christmas tree, very short Christmas.
which is only like 4 weeks. They go up.
So to confirm, there has been a process by which they've been approved, those signs?
Yeah, they've come to us, what, last year?
They did, yes.
That's a whole group of people.
Yep.
See,
And
I-
just the Christmas tree ones were grandfathers, the ones that put them there. We're not allowing any more, and when they stop, or there's change ownership, they're not going to be able, there won't be any signs on those islands. You're gonna need a microphone, though.
Is that one more?
Yep. You need to push it on, it's not green. And please talk into
I'll
it.
just sit right next to you if that's
Mike, you
all
need to
right.
speak into the microphone.
So I guess it begs the question, from my perspective, on what town property would signs be allowed? I mean, we're talking about a directional sign to an agricultural use, which, again, I'm reading into the discussions I've heard, both in the paper and at these meetings about that incentive. So I'm just curious, what
Is that going to be your question?
Well, that was sort of my question, in terms of, my recollection was that Selectmen made a big statement about how you wanted to support agriculture and farms in town while you were developing the sign regulations. And I don't have it in front of me, so maybe you could refresh us. What's the role of farms in relationship to signs? Because that was my recollection too, was that the agricultural piece was something that was being
We
supported.
understand that. So, Mike, you want to touch on the agriculture and farms, because
Yeah,
they are exempt from the, so
Well,
why don't you touch on that portion, and then
Versus the town.
and then we'll talk about the town-owned one.
Well, with the town-owned one policy, well, I mean,
I'm talking
my
about-
recollection is that, well, with regard to putting up signs on your property,
Yep.
then obviously that's different than what we're talking about here. This is only signs on town-owned property.
And that farms are exempt
And-
from,
Well, what you did is actually, you said, is that the farms, in order to support them, when they come in, they could come in one time. And they could get permission on an annual basis, or not, like the Christmas tree. Like, they don't have to come back next year, they can continue to do it. So that was kind of where they were favoring the signs, where somebody else might have to come back in every year, every time, they'd look at it, depending upon the circumstances. The idea was, okay, we don't want to make it burdensome for you, but to come in so we know, and we know who's been permitted and who hasn't. They submit a small application.
Correct.
That Mary keeps, and so we have a record of it.
So, and to clarify, that would be a location, as an example, like at the intersection of like Ash and Middle. I think that's one of the locations for the Christmas tree farms.
I mean,
And
you-
ash and
actually,
maple also.
Mud Point, I mean, you're more like ash and maple and Georgetown Road, yeah.
That's-
yeah,
that-
that- yeah.
Ash and Maple is private property. That's private property. It's not town-owned.
it's ash and,
Ash, Maple, and
Ash and Ma-
Georgetown, it's
It's
a
that-
private lot.
no, but they're talking about,
Actually, it's not.
no,
The
it's
traffic
not.
island?
That traffic island is not
That's
private.
private land.
No, it's not.
No,
It's owned by One Ash Street.
No,
no.
no.
If you look at the county bounds, it's the county layout, there's no inner bounds.
It's
It
not.
shows up on their tax bill.
Maybe it does, I don't know. All I can tell you is that
We've had
according
discussions
to
about this before.
according to our former DPW superintendent, his position was that
That was years ago.
years ago,
Bert
that there was there was no layout that was different, but I haven't looked at it, I haven't examined it.
Well, I did because I asked them for permission and they've given it to me, so.
Well, I mean, again, these.
On that particular triangular piece,
So we know what we're talking, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, which I presumed was private.
Well,
since it-
nothing, so if you put it on a telephone pole or a street pole and stuff, that's not private.
Yeah, no, this would be the same type of sign on the ground.
See, I want to support, I want to support agriculture, but I also don't want a sign for 6 months or what, I'm sorry, I don't exactly, I didn't total up the months, but I would, I can't speak for the other board members, but I would be willing to have, like, if you wanted to have a particular event or something, I don't know if it was, blueberries or whatever, just whatever it was, that it was a particular time, that seems kind of a compromise to me. I don't want to have a sign there for 9 months, but I wouldn't be disposed against a 3-week situation or
Yeah,
something like that.
this is 5 months.
Okay,
Hey,
5 months is still a
I'm
long
opposed, I'm
time,
opposed
yeah.
to the A-frame plastic sign, no matter what. So I don't think we've made it very clear that we don't want Main Street littered with A-frame signs, and we've said that to other people. And we have a few in town that we were not responsible for to put there. Because when we say to you, then we have, like Joe said, and I'm a firm believer in that, we have to say it to every single person, so we could have 500 up and down Main Street.
Well,
We-
to be honest, I chose the design based on what I observed was customary along Main Street.
Where do you see them on Main Street? That honestly,
Well,
maybe
again,
they're
I-
illegal, because then we're gonna have to ask them to move them.
Without distinguishing between private and public. But I believe there's one right here at the gas station at the corner. They have an A-frame sign. I believe,
So they put out an A-frame sign in the morning and say oil changes 1995, and
Something
at the
like
end of
that.
the day, they bring it into their house and it's not out there at nighttime.
right.
That's a little bit different too than what you plan on doing.
Well, I mean,
So you know what I mean? So think about
I
it in
do,
our,
I
think
do.
about it in our perspective, that we're gonna have an A-frame sign blown around the square. Could it blow around the square? Who knows? But it could every night. You know what I mean by that? So we have to manage it in some respects.
No, I think if you stopped by the farm, you would realize that the last thing I'm interested in doing is making the downtown look,
Like Route 1.
lack eye appeal. So
You've done a wonderful job there, and I would agree. I go by every day.
Well, it's on the cover of the West Newbury report, so somebody took a picture of it and put it on some publication that West Newbury's now developed. But in any case, I'm happy for that. I'm okay with that.
No,
But
you've done a wonderful job there, but we're not saying anything what you have done about your farm. We're talking about a white plastic A-frame sign
On the
in,
town square.
on the town square. That's what we're talking about. So, you know what I mean by that? So
I do.
I hope you can understand our position in that respect.
I'm not actually in disagreement with you, to be honest with you. I made the decision about the design based on what I had understood to be already approved for other people. Simple
Okay.
as that.
So it seems like you have some, I'm kind of wishy-washy about it, right? Because of the sign, I couldn't do it, and Dave might. So maybe if you could come back to us with a better design sign, maybe smaller, and maybe look maybe at the dairy one down at Garden Street. That's been there probably for 20 years. Maybe something like that. We would probably, it might be favored better in a future meeting. I can't say 100%, but I'm trying to, if you really think it's that integral in getting people to your farm, because, which we kind of told people when they were doing the other farms with the Christmas tree farms, everybody has maps on their phone now. It's really easy to get to places. If this was 15 years ago, people might not even find your farm. You know what I mean by that? So signage is nice, but I don't think it's necessary to have a successful business if you're on the back roads in West Newbury anymore, because of MapQuest and the stuff, the apps that you have on your phone. So I would say that we wouldn't, tonight, we would not vote favorable to an A-frame plastic sign in the square. But maybe we can work together on doing something a little bit more, you know, agriculturally, or a wooden, or something that's smaller and, you know, farm fresh. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I do. I'm amenable to that.
I think that's a great-
The issue for me is the cost to develop another sign. It, particularly insofar as I would like to make it as attractive as possible, could be considerable. So I'm trying to develop a clearer understanding of what
Yeah,
might
I mean,
actually
Glenn,
work.
we can't say.
And then say
make
no
it-
to it. And then say.
Make this,
Yeah.
and then.
You spend a
and then
couple
say
of $100
no
bucks
to
on
it. No,
design,
we have
and
to
then
give
the-
them some direction,
Yep.
one way or the other.
Yeah, I'll go on record to say I'm willing to spend money to satisfy you.
I
But
got
the
you.
question becomes, what does that entail?
Let's
So-
think, I think as a board, we need to think about this a little bit, because we thought we had it all worked out, right?
To be
And
consistent.
to try to be consistent, and I want to make sure that we are. So let us work it out, and we'll contact you. Hopefully, we'll talk about it at our next meeting, so we don't send you on a thing, so we do it in a timely manner.
So,
That
if I
fair?
could. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I went to Mike 6 or 8 months ago and suggested that maybe there ought to be a more articulated design criteria for these types of signs. So it wasn't necessarily something that I wasn't thinking about.
I think we had a conversation early on about this, and we all said, we're not going to allow any more signs on the training field, on the town square, garden, and where else?
Stewart.
And Stewart. We weren't going to do that. And other than the ones that have already done it, and that are grandfathered in, and if those things change ownership, including the Christmas tree farms, that we were going to stop on those locations. Because theoretically, if we, like Joe said, then we could have 500 there. I mean,
Yeah,
what-
no, I
yeah.
understand.
You know what I mean?
It is the
Yeah,
primo
yeah.
spot.
It is the primo spot, and it is,
There's only one farm on Ash Street, though. I mean, today, maybe there'll be a few more.
no, but the
I don't
Christmas
know.
tree farms that are down there, the only ones, we're not letting any more on there.
No, I understand.
You know,
but
we're not letting any more on that particular site. The only ones that were there are gonna only grandfathered in there. We're not letting them on there anymore because we didn't want it. Because honestly, we were getting complaints about there were too many signs around town. Can you imagine? I know, and we're in
Both. I mean, it's,
Yeah,
again,
but so we're trying to appease everything and trying to keep it under control and manage it as well as we possibly
I
can.
actually, just on the bigger topic, I think it looks better. I think there's still rogue signs appearing, but there's fewer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
well, there was a sign on the island for 2 weeks. There's been a
I saw
sign.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
so,
And our DPW have been instructed, back before these even two people were on the board, and I was on the board, that if they see any rogue signs around town, they're supposed to pick them up on their travels.
I might have picked up a few.
And
last
I've
year.
picked them up when I used to walk, but obviously, as you can see, I haven't walked in a while. When my wife, I used to pick up rogue signs. When I was on my walk, crumple them up, it used to drive my wife insane, but I said, they're not supposed to be there.
so, maybe part of the takeaway, and I would look forward to hearing back from you, obviously, but
Mhm.
if I understand it, you're going to consider the possibility of something smaller, better design, more appealing, more eye-appealing, more,
More neon, definitely.
yeah. So-
We'll just run the cord across the road from the gas station.
I mean, the other objection seems to be that there's a concern about the risk of vandalism and weather conditions blowing it over and things like that. I mean,
That's pretty reasonable. I mean, on our
I agree.
behalf.
I mean, they designed these A-frame signs so that they can be weighted in a way that they claim.
But now you have to put sandbags on it, you're gonna put it on that square. The garden club was there decorating, and they have their spring plantings there already. They made sure it was all clean for a Memorial Day parade, so you're gonna put you wanna fight the garden club?
No.
And you wanna put them on their peonies and whatever they have planted there, because they raise money from their plant sale, which they raised a considerable amount of money. They use that money in different ways. One of them is to maintain the town squares, like that one. They do on Stewart Street. They do stuff. The Garden Club planted some stuff and took care of, in the DPW, took care of some stuff down in front of the Legion, so it could look nice for our Memorial Day parade. So now the Garden Club does that. Now there's going to be a sign right on top of all their flowers.
Actually, I was thinking of the little sidewalk there,
But then you have a problem, because then, a state problem, because they just put all the sidewalks in, and we're supposed to keep all the sidewalks clear, and we're not supposed to have any signs on them. That's a violation.
yeah, I'm not sure that's actually a sidewalk, but that's.
But you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I don't
So
know, it's an awful
what-
small sidewalk if it is.
What about the notion of something more permanent in that location that could serve to become a
Christmas tree,
a rotating sign board, if you will. Again, something high quality, perhaps in the ground, wooden, with some sort of, maintenance undertaking and things of that nature, and,
maybe a wrought iron frame that you could slit in
yep,
a
yep.
wooden thing every year. But I don't want to go down that road, because I don't even think this board at this point would approve any sign there. But I'm just saying,
Okay.
I'm definitely not going to do an A-frame.
So the notion of promoting agricultural development, if you will, or maintaining agricultural development kind of goes by the boards with that,
I don't think,
denial.
I don't think that's what was said.
We didn't say that, but I could see somebody trying to draw that conclusion. But I think you heard this board say that we hear you. We have people that want to promote agriculture, and let us talk about it and maybe think about it, and then go around town and look at some signs and have a good discussion between us. Because if we do this, this won't be the last discussion we have. So
Agreed.
we try to have a policy, and then as soon as we have a policy and we make a decision, somebody comes in and gives us good reasons to break that policy. And it's very hard to run a town and or a business that way, because we keep on sending missed messages to our employees and to the taxpayers. Because every time we come up with, we think is a good solution for something, and say, we'll promote everything we possibly can on the website. We should have all the towns and all the Christmas tree towns on our website. So if somebody goes to West Newbury, it could be it's sustainable agriculture, and they could click on something. We could do that. We hope to be heading that way, to promote your farms, because we're proud of them.
Good, thank you. So could we also address what I think is now a concern for me about that triangular piece?
Joe looked it up on our assessors map, I think, as you were talking. and-
I think we need to do some more research. You may be right, but I think we need to do some more research.
But at this point, it is what it is. So if you've got permission from somebody, and that's on their deed or something like that, or whatever it is, I would say you have permission until you hear otherwise.
I would put it in the middle of it, as opposed to the, what's the correct verbiage? The right-of-way extends.
Layout. Jim, the layout is obviously a lot wider than the pavement. So where the obviously the
On the
the
ground.
hydrant and the telephone pole are in would be in a right of way. You know what I'm talking about.
Don't put it right next to the street, put it more in the middle, that's all.
Yeah, I don't think there's any there's anything in that triangle.
Yeah, I didn't.
No, I don't
Oh, yeah,
think there is.
there's fire hydrant.
There is? I
think
don't
so.
remember
Yeah.
a fire hydrant.
Hey, what was it, Gary? Is a fire hydrant in the middle of that? Yeah? It's on the edge. It's on the edge pointed to Georgetown. But it's in about 10 feet or
So
something
just
like
put
that.
it in the middle of the triangle.
Yeah,
So unless you hear from us, you went about it the right way.
okay.
Thank you. Thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Yep.
Only bought one sign, so.
Say it again?
I said I only bought one sign.
Oh, good. Thank you. Health agent Paul Savigny, Page School Indoor Air Quality Assessment, please. Paul, would you please come up?
Testing, hello.
This is not gonna, it's not gonna be like this the whole time, is it? Good evening, thanks for coming in, we appreciate it. Would you have anything you'd like to talk to us about this report? Because I think at the end, we would like to talk to you about it, and I think there are some recommendations as a town we would like to send the school district. Is that fair to say?
Correct. The representative from the Department of Public Health, Jason, Dustin, and myself went around the school. We did a bunch of air quality tests, tested temperature, particulates, CO2, humidity. Basically, pretty much the overall school had good air quality. The only thing that they made in recommendations was some things that they could do to improve the air. Not that the air was bad, but it was good, but to make it even better than it is.
Okay.
There was a whole list of recommendations, and a lot of it, from my understanding and reviewing it, really has to do with maintenance.
Okay.
Maintenance of the physical facility, as well as, probably increase your frequency of cleaning.
So what would your recommendation be, the health department's recommendation be, how we proceed from here?
I think the selectmen and DPW, and maybe when the town manager gets on board, will go over and see whose responsibility it is to maintain what portion of the schools. Is it the town's responsibility or the district's? And work on a plan that way to find out who's responsible for certain maintenance of the recommendations.
So to, you can chime in, I don't keep ahead of the conversation, but, so what we could probably do in the interim would in the interim would be say, why don't we get Mike McCarron to look over our regional agreement, so we have a good understanding of who's responsible for what, get that understanding, and then look at these recommendations, then work with us, work with you, and work with DPW, and then to understand the recommendations, and then send it to them with the backup material from our regional agreement that states that who's responsible for what, and then going forward, we probably should have something in place, that type of monitoring or something like that, that these things are being done, because if it's not, if I'm not mistaken, that there were some things on this list that have been brought up to the district that we know that it's their responsibility, and they really haven't been addressed.
I would say that's a good way to go about it. Like I said, most of the stuff in most of the recommendations, there's really nothing there that are large scale or it's
No,
going to take a lot of time.
That's
or
what I
money.
wanted to,
Yeah.
all of these things are doable, not particularly costly, or things that even can be addressed, a lot of these can be addressed this summer.
I mean, I would say all of them could be addressed this summer. I mean, with a short amount of time.
So we need to do it sooner than better, sooner, obviously, because summer is a good opportunity. Again, what we want to take away from this little segment of this meeting would be that the quality and the air quality and all that stuff at the Page School is good, but we're just trying to make it better.
Correct, and that's what the whole report was about, and the state was not concerned about the air quality one bit.
Nobody was concerned about any quality or anything, but we just want to try to make it better.
Correct.
Anything for you, Archie?
Yeah, Gary, I just wanted to, I just happened to be looking at this one particular picture right here. It could be anything, but for example, a bunch of vines growing in an intake vent. Now, who's sort of responsible for the outside envelope of the building? That's a gray area.
You need to use a microphone.
No?
It's a maintenance issue.
It is, okay.
Hold on. Please answer the question. I'm sorry, Gary, but you have to do it on the microphone. Thank you.
The district maintains the school inside and outside. They plow the snow, they cut the grass, so if there's a branch growing against a building, I would assume.
Yeah, you answered Mr. Archibald's question when you were walking over. That's not gray at all, that it's a maintenance issue, and the school district would be responsible for something like what he explained.
We're technically responsible for any capital repair or whatever that's over $10,000. So if you let 10 million of them grow, now it's a capital project, then we'll have to fix.
But I can't stress enough that we had the test done. He said it was a good building, but but like everything, we want to do things better in life. So he made some recommendations that could even make it better, and we should follow these, and we should make sure they are maintained.
Correct.
And to even add on to Glenn's point, one of the notes that the person from the Department of Public Health said was that a lot of these are problems in basically all schools in the Commonwealth, similar things, yeah.
So
Any
Paul,
questions?
Paul might have said this when I stepped out to the restroom, but, so how do we make sure that those items are maintained?
Okay, so what we said was, just to make sure that we understand our regional agreement, we were going to have Mike go over the regional agreement, go over the recommendations that were made by the Health and Human Services Department, under the Department of Public Health, and he's going to do that. Then he's going to meet with Gary, and he's going to meet with Paul, and then we're going to come up with the recommendations, and those recommendations then will be outlined. Because of the regional agreement, you guys are responsible for those, and we're going to give that to them sooner and later, and then we're going to maybe, we talked about that, maybe Paul, maybe going forward, maybe Gary, that would be something that we would discuss, would ask them maybe every quarter or something like that, go up there every month, kind of do a routine inspection of the property to make sure.
I think the agreement calls for myself and facilities manager to go through the school twice a year to look at.
There you go.
I think it's already in the
That's
agreement.
perfect.
So
We just
hold
need
on
to
one
do
sec.
that.
So is that like action item, is that cool with
Yeah,
both of you
yeah,
guys?
perfect.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want it to be, lots of these things get, the recommendations become generalities, and then they get ignored. These are actually specific bullet points, like, just,
Like, take this thing and put it here and it'll be better.
it's,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
they're very specific, and I want them to be addressed specifically, rather than, yeah, we're gonna do cleaning. No, we want what's mentioned in the report done, not just a general, we're gonna do the cleaning.
But in the past, we've all worked good together, Greg, Patton, and I. We keep a lot of try to keep a lot of things fixed up, we'll look at things, and some things he'll fix, some things I say I'll take care of it, Like the
So-
tree thing, we took down a bunch of hazardous trees that were a problem.
Yep, over near the playground. So, could we say that you guys, Mike, and you two could work together, and you'd come up with the whole thing that we could send to the district by our next meeting?
Sure.
And that, our
That
next
quickly,
meeting?
you can.
And that is in 2 weeks. I would rather do it sooner than later, so then they have time during the summer to be able to address that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we could just send it, hey, these are something that, during the whole process, that the department came in, and we'd like to, while you're doing your routine maintenance stuff, we would like to see these things addressed over the summer before the kids go back. Is that all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You with you? Okay, so could you put that on our, so we,
You might also want to think about a plan of review for the board, like, basically set aside the second meeting of every month, this will be an item. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
that
we can, if you can give us those recommendations when you get to those guys, when you talk to them, how the whole thing is gonna be reviewed going forward, because you guys are the ones on the ground, not us. So if you guys can all work that out and then bring it back to us at our next meeting, and we can approve it, that'd be great. Sound good?
Yep.
The plan.
Perfect.
Cool, thanks, I appreciate you coming in.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Yep.
Selectmen's wage transfer, hold on. Yep. Thank you, I was gonna do that too, I forgot. Gentlemen, because of something that came out unforeseen and we got some information that did not meet the deadline of the agenda, but is appropriate to talk tonight about and to vote on, the police chief asked me earlier today if he could come in. I said yes, as long as he keeps it brief, and he said as long as I don't talk, he would be able to keep it brief. So I'm going to ask Art,
That would be an interesting challenge to set
yeah,
up.
but he has a gun. It's a lot. So I'm going to ask Art to come up, and hi Art, thanks for coming in, and thank you. One thing before we get started, everybody always yells and maybe thanks you when they pull over, but I had some individuals at my house this afternoon who I've never met before. They lived in town for 30-something years, and they live on Indian Ridge. and they said that, they met me for the first time, and we started talking about selectmen stuff. And he said, I just want to say something to you. We go to Florida for an extended period of time, and we call the police and ask them to watch our house. They did a phenomenal job. I wanted to tell you that. And they said that they even inspected it. We got a package delivered that was supposed to be to Florida, and they called us in Florida and said there was a package there. So I want to thank you and your department for doing that. Okay, so,
Thank you.
yep, next.
I'll pass that forward to the troops. Thank you for allowing me to come in tonight. Like you said, information just came to light as of today. As you know, we've been trying to hire to fill a full-time midnight slot, and that came to be after all the background investigation. So it came forth this afternoon about 1, and I was looking for the board's approval so I can continue on the process of hiring the individual.
So the reason why he's in here tonight is because that we need to appoint him to a full-time officer because this individual has a full-time job. So I think it would be appropriate for us to make sure that he has a secure job after he's gone through the lengthy process, an extensive process the chief put forth before he gives notice to another job.
So are you looking for approval to hire, or are you looking for an official appointment? Which are you looking for exactly?
Well, I want to be able to, you three, to approve, obviously the position's already been approved, so now I need to get him appointed, and once,
So you want an appointment, that's what you want?
So-
yes.
Wasn't clear to me
Yeah,
what
no, it
what he
wasn't
was
to me
requesting.
either, but I talked to Mike about this. We could say, yeah, we approve you to offer him the job. But then the individual could come in here the night of the appointment, and one of us could say, I don't like this shoe color or something, and not appoint him, or two could do it. So, you know what I mean? So it needs to be official. So,
Okay.
you want to make the motion? Okay.
Yeah, sure. I move to appoint Robert Joyce as a full-time police officer through,
It'd be 1 year, but basically I think that his appointment will be effective upon taking his oath.
which
Correct.
Effective
you and
upon-
I will have to work out maybe
Effect-
this week or whatever it
Okay.
is.
Upon taking his oath, and for 1 year from the date of his taking his oath.
okay, effective upon the date of taking his oath for 1 year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Now, this individual.
I want to take a second to read it before I.
Yep. So, if it's my understanding that this person, do you want to tell us anything about it, that it's why and all this? And-
Well, he is currently employed for the town of Tewksbury as a full-time dispatcher. He also works part-time as a reserve officer for the town of Georgetown. I received nothing but accolades from both chiefs saying that if they could have hired him full-time, they would have done that themselves. So, and all the other people we talked to came back very favorably. It looks like he'll fit in very well with, obviously, what we do here in West Newbury, comparable to what they do in Georgetown as for policing. So,
So Chief, why did he say he wanted to be a police officer sort of now, and instead of
earlier,
10 years ago or something, yeah?
I think, which is probably his course of life. Not everybody chooses to do this job. I guess when I started in the early 20s, other people just get started a little bit later because of, I guess, different choices that they make throughout their life.
I just wondered if he
Yep.
verbalized that at all. I mean,
Well, through the interview process, it's one of it was his aspiration to become a full-time officer. It just didn't come earlier.
Let me ask a question of you. How were you with his employment history? Like how long he stayed in the job and his frequency of changes?
He stayed, I think it was 2010 when he became employed with the town of Tewksbury, so he was there for quite lengthy amount of time. I think he probably saw that he was not going to get hired by the town of Tewksbury because he actually aged out of the civil service system, which Tewksbury is. I think he saw maybe a chance that if he worked part-time for another police department, it would increase his chance of becoming a full-time officer. And where Georgetown is not civil service, maybe he thought that he would get a job there. Well, that didn't,
Okay.
that didn't pan out, and
No, it makes sense.
I just don't want to have a year with us and then back to Tewksbury. That's,
Well, A, he can't because it's civil service, so he's too old for civil service. And yes, is there a chance that he could go someplace else? Yeah. I
There's
did
always
talk,
that chance with everything.
I mean, I talked with them at the last leg beyond here, but the last leg of the background is I guess, the interview with the police chief. And that's usually one of the big hot pokers that I jab people with, is that I want people's commitment. And if you don't have your word of honor, then it's not really worth anything, even though I can't really hold them to that. I guess I always hope.
no. You okay? Yeah.
Joe?
I'm good.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, there's been some discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Appreciate you letting me come in tonight.
Yep. Selectmen FY18 wage transfers and FY19 wage schedule.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
these are really kind of two separate
Totally
things.
separate things.
They're on one item, but, so you want to do the wage transfers first?
Please. Want to start us with that, Joe?
Yeah, so I talked to the town accountant some time ago, asking her to put together her projection. Let me back up. We gave increases to 3 people January 1st in concert with new responsibilities. So we knew when we did that we did not have that
Money there.
money in that line item. So
Correct.
so we knew this was something we knew was going to happen. So I asked her for a projection about a month ago, and she said she wanted to wait till she got May's kind of final, which she did. So then she emailed us numbers. So then I talked to her about, okay, where would you feel comfortable, because you're allowed within the last 60 days of a fiscal year to transfer between line items within a department. Where would you feel comfortable doing those transfers? So she made up these transfer documents. There's, I think there's 3 different items. I didn't know, do these have to be voted by the Finance Committee?
Yes,
They do.
Correct.
yeah.
That's what it says on here, but I didn't know
Them
that.
and us.
I thought it was just a, okay. Oh, it's the reserve fund that only has to be voted by them,
Not us.
not by us. That's where I was getting messed up. Okay, so that's what she's put together for us.
Yep,
So,
there's 4 of them. You said 3, but there are 4.
I see 3.
And Joe, I think that the Municipal Modernization Act liberalized some of the transfers, so you could like take transfers from from
Not
outside
from,
the department.
not from within a department? Oh,
They
okay.
liberalized it.
So you could take one hypothetically from DPW to finance.
Okay.
I don't want to do that,
No,
but you could if we had a problem.
Okay.
So Mary, why don't Mary has 4 and you have 3, Joe. Mary, could you
No.
Can you please show Joe the ones that
That we have?
that you have, and then he can reconcile them the ones that he has, and then we can move on?
I have 3.
I only have 3, yeah.
He only has 3.
It might have gotten late, or it's something, so.
Okay.
Okay, can I see the one that you don't have, so I can show Mr. Archibald? You see how, he got highlighted.
Let me see. Yes. Technology. Got that one. 2000.
Hey, Mike, are you leaving? No. Would you mind getting me some water if you don't?
It was,
But if not,
it was that
I would
one.
love one if you have. You have any questions on that one, Joe?
No, I think we just need to vote.
Yeah, I know, I just want to
Yeah.
make sure that you
Yeah.
had it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, no problem.
Okay, I do have a question, but that's.
What's the question?
Okay, about this. Microphone. Okay, so one of these is a transfer of $4,000 from professional and technical. A present balance in that account is approximately $5,500. Was there a legal, anticipated legal bill that
She
that-
took that into account. She took that.
has that been taken into account?
Yes.
That's encumbered. It's
Okay,
encumbered.
okay,
You all right?
that's my question, so,
Yep.
okay, otherwise I'm good.
Okay, Joe, you want to make a motion, please?
Yeah. Do you mind if I just wrap this all together in one motion?
No.
As
I
opposed to
don't know
doing-
how you can do that, but
Joe's good.
I move to make the following transfers between or within departments. $4,000 from the Selectmen's Professional and Technical Services account to the Selectmen's appointed personal salaries. Second, $2,000 from the Selectmen's operating expenses to the Selectmen's appointed personal salaries. And third, $5,300 from the finance technology expenses to the finance department salary and wages. And then fourth, $2,000 from the annual audit to the within the finance department, to the finance department salaries and wages.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye. And I think this just needs a signature of the chairperson, and then it also needs to be voted by the FinCom. So they probably may or may not be aware of that, so they need to have a meeting and sign it.
Okay. Okay, the next thing that on that line on our agenda was the wage schedule. Joe, you want to lead us on that?
Okay.
Archie, you want to lead us on that?
No, I'll be glad to.
I know,
That's
I know,
fine.
I know.
So,
I know you had it marked up, so, and you were working on it, so I want to make sure that.
you got it?
I got some things.
Yeah, me too. So, you know, this is the draft that was put together for fiscal 19 wages by the town accountant. So I think the best thing to do is if we each individually just kind of go through and make notes. So let me just.
Hold on for 1 second. So, I think that's a great idea. We're going to look at it, make notes, and maybe some corrections, and then give it back to the finance director for some type.
To the town accountant. She
Excuse
did.
me, for the town account, for some type of reconciliation, some, understanding of this, and then we'll vote it at our next meeting?
Yeah, I think she should, I think
Does that
she should
sound-
make the corrections, and we should vote a corrected
Yeah,
copy.
So that's,
We voted it like 11 times last year. Yeah.
no, but so that would be my thing. We make the recommendations, we bring it back to them, she understands it, reconciles it, and brings a clean copy back to us. and
Can I
we'll
get a
have it on
glass
our
of water too? Oh, I already have one.
If you asked us when you were walking out, like I would have asked you, he wouldn't have had it done.
Oh, I didn't have a cup. I was actually going to the restroom is where I was going.
Okay,
Anyway,
so is
okay.
that okay?
Yes,
Do it that way? Is
yes,
that the
yes.
way to do it? Good. So
Okay,
if we
s-
could make sure this is on our next agenda?
So,
Thank you.
so going through, first in the town manager's department, the executive administrator, 2% salary increase, which is the same as everybody else. So if you do the math, she currently makes $67,000 annually. 2% is $68,340. Not to be technical, but, a
Thank you.
mistake, even a small mistake compounds itself.
Yep. No, excuse me. One thing I'd like to do, Archie, he's gonna bring them down the line. If you see something that he didn't see, he's gonna go down. You know what I mean? You pick it up also? Is that okay?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we almost
I
do
don't
it.
have a pen, so someone else is going to have to. write.
Yeah, I'll mark it up. Do you see anything else on the first page?
No.
No.
Okay. Is Crystal Hall, I didn't think that was an ongoing, I'm looking at you, but you don't know, but is it ongoing, I know she was temporary coverage. I thought that was just temporary while Maureen was out, unless Maureen's going to be out more.
She is covered for, temporary, like when someone's on vacation. Kind of,
Okay.
So your
I'm
question would be like, why would we even have her on a wage schedule in 2019? Because she was covering for people in 2018? So maybe the answer would be that potentially she could be doing the same in 2019.
Well, I think she was, and and from an appointment.
But it's not, it's budgeted in the 2019.
It's budgeted from
It's budgeted at zero.
From an appointment standpoint. I know we didn't appoint her beyond this fiscal year. I don't know if she's on the appointment list for next year. Crystal Hall.
Okay, why don't we put, so we don't come to a screeching halt on one particular thing?
Yeah, just
Why don't we,
check
why don't
on
we, why don't we just check it off?
Yep.
And that'll be one of the things.
Okay, that's a question mark.
We have a question mark, and at the end of this meeting, Joe's gonna present a clean copy to you of all the questions and corrections, all the questions that need to be answered, and all the corrections that need to be done to the town accountant, and they will fix them and answer our questions, and have a clean copy back to us at our next meeting. Joe?
Okay,
Next.
page 2.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Go, Archie.
Okay, the carryover for the, under conservation for, Jay Smith, the motor vehicle allowance is budgeted in 18, but not 19. It should be carried over there.
Yeah, should it be, or I don't even know. Is that what's he,
We
I
didn't
remem-
vote to eliminate that.
Yeah, and I remember, I remember it being in the budget.
okay.
Okay,
Okay.
next?
Next question was, Art has left, so I can't ask him about, but under the police contract, Susan Curry is down at a grade 7. Do you think that's correct?
Susan Curry, so she is not covered by it. She's a non-contractual
She's a non-contractual
employee, and I happen to have last year's wage schedule here.
Okay.
So let's
That's
look.
why you're leading this, Joe.
Yes, she's a 7.
She's a 7. The answer is yes. Okay, next?
Couple of the additional, field officer training, that kind of thing, under the officers, they're not put over into the totals column. For example, under Rich Parento, the 500 has to be, if we're gonna, if the spreadsheet's not gonna work.
It's not gonna add up? It's not gonna add up, right.
Isn't gonna work, so it has to be, that one has to be moved over.
Okay,
Okay, did you have that?
Yep.
So you
Yep.
are running the clean one.
I got it.
Please. Okay, anything else on that page?
Okay, I'm good on that page.
What about you,
What-
Joe?
Yeah, I had one question where,
Okay.
I know the individual resigned, but the position still exists, so where is the SRO?
You mean the money or the individual?
Yeah, well, no, I know the individual quit, but there's no SRO
Where
in
is
here.
the position? Yeah.
Okay?
That should be here, right?
That has to be there,
Yeah.
because some money is
Well-
paid by
He has
us.
to-
and
He's
some-
gonna go hire somebody.
And that money,
Do
and,
you approve the wage scale for the position or the person?
I don't know.
What would you say?
Approve it for the person.
So there's no person there yet.
Yeah.
There's no person there, so there's no
Okay.
need to do it.
All right,
Is that what you're saying? So when he does hire one, then it has to go under the line item, because there is a specific line item for the SRO. And some of the portion of his money is paid by the school district.
Right.
And he did just say he's gonna hire tomorrow.
that's for the overnight.
No, I was talking to him about the SRO,
Oh,
just so you know. I mean,
so an existing,
You might wanna ask.
okay,
He
so
knows who he wants to give the position.
so you're talking about an existing officer.
He
yeah.
wouldn't tell me who it was. He said.
Okay. So let's just say that was the case, then we have to backfill. That's, I mean, yeah, but whatever, okay.
Do we need to carry over the police stipends at the bottom of the page?
Well, those are not, those go under those really should go under the people that get them. I think that's just a list of what the stipends are. Okay,
Okay,
next page.
can I make a suggestion on that one? Can that be part of your thing? Because obviously, by the time we get back this wage schedule, sounds like somebody's gonna have that position.
Yeah, okay, I wrote it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was talking Archie. Yep. Next, any
I got
more?
on dispatch, do we have, I don't notice any spot here,
Wait a minute, where's dispatch? Did you,
What page? Let's go by page.
I'm
One,
sorry, I
two.
don't have page numbers, let's see.
Where are you, Joe?
I don't know, I'm just looking for dispatch. I got it.
But did you have anything more before dispatch, so we don't miss it?
Well, no.
You started with the SR, you ended with the SRO.
SRO.
Sorry,
Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
I screwed up.
So,
Okay, so we're on dispatch now.
so on this page, under emergency management, there is no Steve Alvano. He doesn't live here anymore.
Okay, take it off.
Under
Alvino.
under dispatch, John Camerata is no longer here. I thought we had 4 full-time dispatchers, though.
We do.
So who's missing?
We'll have to look at, right, there. I'll tell you in a second. But also, there's a head dispatcher that gets
More money.
more money.
But that's Rich Parento.
Isn't-
It's in the police.
Wasn't it Kara Personal?
That's it.
That's it.
You still can't go home early. You don't get the prize. You have to stay here. Sorry, Mike.
And didn't the animal control officer we have down for our Newbury tour, we have down at 20 grand. I think they got
got a
an
bump up.
increase.
They did.
They
You don't
did.
know what it is? 20, it's an odd.
thought
It
it was
might be
24
22 or something like
Okay.
that.
It is what it is, but we just, let's,
But
Joe,
we're
could
trying to
you?
get it right, that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah, but I mean, Joe, mark that and we'll find out what it is.
I got
and
it.
then-
Yep.
Okay, next. Anything more on that page, gentlemen?
Yes, Brian Richard, he's covered by the union contract. Did he-
No,
No,
he's
he's
not.
not. No, he's not.
So he's a non-contractual employee?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, never mind. That was a question.
Okay. Okay, next
That's it for
page.
that page. I don't have anything on the next page.
Do you have anything else on the next page?
Let me see. No,
Okay.
those are good.
Okay, Joe,
That's it. I'm done.
you all done?
So I can PDF this and send it to Lori tomorrow.
Okay, so, but I would ask,
And Mary, I'll give a copy, and Mary.
yep, if you could PDF it, and then Mary, could you, but then, could Mary, Joe's gonna send it and send it to you, but could you give, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, could you give what we would like? We would like these fixed, and then any questions that we have answered, and we want that ready for our next meeting.
If that's the case, I will send it to her, and she can forward it then.
But don't you think that's
Yeah,
the better
yes.
way? I
Yeah,
think it's a better
yes.
way of doing it that way.
Yes.
That Mary gives.
I was withdrawing myself from sending
Yep.
it to Lori.
But if you, yeah, whatever. Okay, awesome, thank you. Guys, it's good having you two around when we're talking about numbers. I don't have to get involved.
Oh, I'm disappointed. I thought you were like all over the
I was,
invoice and payroll.
I
warrants.
was, yeah, don't worry about it. Review proposed annual election of chairperson's policy. Joe? You're busy tonight, Joe.
Okay. I know, I don't have anything else to do.
Okay, could you please, do you have any questions about it? You understand?
Time out 1 second.
Got it.
Just on the previous item, there are other people on dispatch that, even on like this payroll, that are not listed here, so we gotta get
So-
everybody on.
So maybe a bigger question, Joe, that you could put in that Mary could send in, is that we're finding that there are people that are in payroll that is not on this wage schedule. So could they please try to reconcile that, and make it, up to date? And we don't have any specifics, but they need to cross-reference it, right?
Well, for example, Leanne is not on here.
Yep. And Leanne's been filling in.
Okay.
Does that sound all right, Joe?
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
No, not at all. Okay, so do you have any questions about what this policy that we're going to do? Because you kind of know what we're talking about, right? So, Joe,
I'm behind, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was
so-
looking at that.
I would just,
So, Joe, why don't you, can you just read the policy and make it a motion, and then we can discuss it? So we don't have to discuss
yeah,
it?
I would just make one minor change. Instead
Yep.
of Board of Selectmen, I would just say Town of West Newbury.
Okay, so Town of West Newbury on the top of it. And so can you
Annual, okay, I'll just read it.
make a motion?
Okay, I move to approve the annual election of officers policy, and that policy being that annually each town board committee and commission shall elect a chairperson and clerk at their first meeting after July 1st each year. The chairperson will then communicate the vote to the executive administrator, to the board of selectmen, and update the town's website.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Would you take a friendly amendment?
Sure. What's that?
Or discuss the friendly amendment? Do you think that we should add that they should send it to the Board of Selectmen / town manager?
Sure.
What do you think about that? They take the vote and then they.
Yeah, we have to be thinking that it's after July, so yeah, sure.
So, yeah, they take the vote, then they're supposed to communicate back to us, but I would say communicate back to us and the town manager.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, okay.
So I will insert the town manager and executive administrator.
So did you second that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, the only one thing, there are certain boards or commissions that,
They can ignore us.
no, not they can ignore you, is
I
that
thought-
they might have a different schedule, like, I believe like the Board of Fire Engineers, aren't they supposed to appoint their chief right after their,
So
And
we're
the-
supposed to appoint them in
in
April,
and
and then they're supposed to
appoint a chief.
yeah.
So if you
But
say you're not supposed to, I guess, I mean,
just do it on the same thing. They're not supposed to formally tell us until July 1st.
oh, okay. So you mean they can appoint him anytime, but they shouldn't
Yeah,
instruct you by July 1st?
yeah. No, hold on.
Because a lot of boards appoint their, like, reorganized after the election.
Okay,
The
so
planning
what
board,
about, okay,
yeah.
what about this, Joe? Let's talk about it. Okay, what about no later than your first meeting in July of the new first school year?
Sure.
No, because some boards don't meet in July.
Your first meeting in the new fiscal year.
How about if we put in, so leave it as
No
it's,
later than your first.
as it's
Yeah.
written, or in the case of the board, may in the case of the Board of Fire Engineers.
Well, we just say is, or as otherwise provided by
Statute?
statute or.
Yeah,
or by-
that's better.
By statute law, regulation or bylaw.
Okay.
Okay.
What? Say that again?
That's by statute, regulation or bylaw.
Joe's gonna send it to you, Mary. So then, again, I'm gonna ask the question, what do we do with this, Joe?
Wait a minute. Mary sends it out.
Okay.
To all chair people, current chair people.
Current chair.
Current chair people.
Or,
I would-
no, but let's just think this through. If the current chairperson could ignore it, and those are the, I know, but those are the people that we don't want, that we don't want ignoring it, because
Why don't we
you
send it out to
brought it
all
up
boards
that people are
Send it out to all boards
not
and
asking
committees.
for an election.
Do you even have all their email?
Send it out to all board,
Wait a
but
minute.
hold on, send it out to all boards and committees, what you have.
Okay.
As good
Did
as,
that.
as,
What I've been doing.
Yeah,
Mary,
that's it.
as good as you got, don't, yeah.
And then next year, you might have 2 or 3 more. Is what you have, just so you don't do it to, it'll be to the chair people and whomever.
Yeah.
And then it will at least do what Archie says, is get the word a little bit farther than just with the chair people,
Yeah,
right?
And in some cases, I don't know who the chair is.
right.
Yeah, and it should be doing more work trying to figure that out.
Hopefully
Yeah.
it will now.
Don't try
Yeah.
digging, but
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One other point I wanted to make.
On?
Can I ask a question?
Well, we were,
here's a question.
go ahead.
So I'm in the process of sending out emails to the committees, commissions, and boards, asking for reappointments.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add this to that?
Yes,
Or would
sure.
you rather have it
No.
separately?
Nope, add it.
Add it.
Thank you.
Perfect. But frame it that it's make it jump out that it's a policy.
Next, Joe?
Okay, I just wanted to make a comment with the transition to the town manager. As of July 1st, he's responsible for signing
Warrants.
Warrants, and we're responsible for signing all of the warrants up until June 30th.
Okay.
So I don't
What am I
know.
missing?
No, I just wanted to bring it up as a point that, so it's a change.
No, but why are you bringing it up? Because we all knew that. I'm just trying to see if there's something deeper there that I'm missing.
No. I'm trying to think, because I thought there was something. I don't know why I wrote this note. It was a while ago.
Are you saying something that's a FY
FY
18 bill?
We sign, FY19 he signs. I
We have
don't,
to make sure we schedule a meeting,
no.
something like
Yeah,
that?
no, I can't, it's eluding me right now,
Okay.
so.
Okay,
I'll
next.
bring it up again.
North Shore Home Consortium distribution of funds. We have to,
I move to release back to the home funds, the allocation to West Newbury of $37.89.
second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 So we need to write them a letter saying,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Did Mary, you were around when we did this last year, correct?
Yeah, but it was a blur.
Wait, hold on. You were around here last year, right?
Yeah, Joe reminded me, yes.
Yeah, you were here, so
I should be able to find the letter.
we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Just do it,
do it
just
again.
change the
Yeah.
date, please. Thank you.
Letter, not an email.
Okay, next is, sorry, I'm just trying to get it organized. The Selectmen outstanding objectives and goals for 2018.
Can I just ask, so what is this exactly to discuss this,
I don't know.
Oh.
Why was this on here?
But you wanted it on there,
Me personally?
yes.
No.
because these are our goals and objectives that we did last summer.
Yeah.
I mean,
No. I thought this had, the reason why, when I saw it, I thought it had something to do with what we were talking about with the new town
the
manager.
Angus stuff, yeah.
But
You
no,
want-
okay, no, there wasn't anything specific.
You want to just skip to that?
Yep, skip it.
Okay.
Town manager's list of goals and objectives.
Can I, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
So I updated this, so these are different now than what we looked at last time. If you read through it, I know Mary just put it in your thing tonight, but your thoughts are incorporated as best I could, so if I missed anything, say anything. And then Archie, on the page 2 items, there are a number of things, about 5 or 6, that were, you know, taking, and we should discuss what they are, but there are some of the top priorities from your, because your list is a big list. I don't think the intent is to address all those things.
No.
So,
You got anything from Angus yet? I haven't seen
But I
anything.
just want them to not get lost in.
yeah, so
that's
there's a number, and not to jump to the second page, but let me just say, there's a lot of things on the second page, like the well field, Middle Street, the existing well field upgrade, the new well field, the Page School capital plan, financing the school. They're all on the first page.
How is the existing upgrade going? Does anyone know?
No idea.
What I found out is that when I talked with the water department, it was later in the year this year. I'm not even sure if we're pumping from Newburyport yet, but last year we pumped a lot quicker.
Well, I believe that.
So that's good news.
So, okay, so let me just backtrack. So just the overall thought with the 90-day plan are more kind of functional things you do to kind of get to know what you're dealing with and what you have. And as you move into the 6-month priorities, they're more longer-term objective type of things. So this list came from 4 different places. It came from what Angus had said in his interview, some thoughts that I had, and what you had both said. So it's and it's meant to be, and then I'll shut up. It's meant just to be a discussion point.
Okay, so is there anything we want to add or subtract from it? I don't think so. And then, now I'm gonna ask the question, what,
I do have one question.
Sure.
Just in terms of implementation, when, for example,
well, that's what my next question was gonna be, so what do we do with it?
so,
What do we do with this?
Yeah, well, let him finish this question,
Okay.
please.
how does it work in terms of changing an employee's job description that,
So
unilaterally, I guess that's.
Well, I think we have to vote on that. That was an item that.
under a recommendation?
That was an item that came from Angus, that he had said a couple of different times that he wanted to review all the job descriptions. So, fine,
Okay.
have at it, they're in the book.
Yeah.
But we would have to change it with us. Obviously, I think he would consult the department heads, and that would be something we could talk, doing that, but he
It's
just,
not to say, there isn't just, you're gonna do this
No,
now.
yeah, no.
Welcome to the world, yeah.
no, I hope that's not gonna happen. I would not agree with that.
Well, that's just why I brought that up.
No, it's smart. So, Joe, then like I'm gonna ask, because a lot of things we do here, no, not a lot, but some things we do here, we vote, and then they just go into a pile somewhere, and we forget about them. So what do you wanna do with this?
What's the action plan? Well,
Yep,
we're gonna-
action plan.
We're gonna meet with him, the public meet and greets on the 9th from 10 to 12, and then after, at 12 o'clock, we're gonna meet with him, and he's sending us his priorities by next week, so we'll have his priorities to look at, and we'll see kind of how they match up, and then have a give and take discussion, and
And he's gonna have seen these, and then
That's-
we'll talk
that-
about it.
No, that was my next-
we
we haven't
haven't, we haven't,
discussed that.
we haven't,
That was
sa-
gonna
we
be
haven't
my
said
question.
that.
What's that?
We haven't talked about that yet.
No.
So I was gonna make the recommendation that we send them to him.
After we receive his.
Yeah, okay.
Just so we're not
I
in,
don't-
just so we're not influencing him.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. I'd like to see, yeah.
Independent outside.
Yeah, that would be cool. And then send it to him and say, hey, listen, this isn't a complete thing, and it just probably could be moving in some respects, because life moves, things change, but this is something we'd like to talk about and see what you think, and we want to get between yours and ours, get a master 6-month priority and outline probably for the next fiscal year.
Yep.
Is that all right with you?
Yep.
Okay, so, gentlemen, there is going to be a few other things on the agenda for that day of June 9th.
Can I just, before we get to that, while we're still on this,
Oh, I'm sorry.
can I just,
we're done.
Archie, I had a couple of questions, actually. On your, on the zeros, Elliott Fund,
Those were things that we.
those are,
The reason I put 0, those were things that we were,
those are selectmen objectives.
a selectman thing that we, no.
Hey,
but
guys,
we were-
thank
but
you.
We are trying to, we tried to correct them this year, and I think we're almost done on some of those. So that's why I had that there.
Okay.
They were things that I had written down months ago, and we're sort of getting them done. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all.
my
All right?
scoring system.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few things too that are selectmen policy type things, like we just voted the bank statement thing.
Eastern-
Yeah,
You mean the reconciliation policy?
yeah, the social media, recreational marijuana, and solar field rules. I mean, those are all selectmen policies. Well, solar field might be planning.
Well, depends on what.
You need to
someone's
speak
gonna
into the mic. I've
Um,
gotten 2
Just
texts.
as an update on you had the generator repairs that
The
bids-
Page School?
The Page School bids are due, to be open next Tuesday.
Oh, good.
Do I need to be there to open them?
No, just,
Can you
Gary
let-
and
can-
I and,
Can you let us know?
How many have we got in so far?
We have gotten in no bids, and I wouldn't expect any bids until the day of, but we've had,
Why
we
is
sent
that?
out, what?
Why is that?
Oh, because no one's gonna submit a bid until like the day of.
But
the
aren't
day
they
before.
closed bids?
Yeah, they're closed bids, so you submit it the day of.
Oh, so they feel like you're gonna open it and?
Well, no, that's the way it is.
It's just a
They-
policy.
they
Whatever.
know
I was
when
just
it's,
curious, yeah.
there's no when
I would
it's
think I'd
due,
wanna
and-
get it done, get it in. Whatever.
But, yeah, but I have at least a dozen inquiries before I sent out the plans and specs to people.
Okay.
So
Good.
it's generated an awful lot of it, pardon the pun, is a lot of interest.
Okay, so you'll let us know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Next
We're less with anticipation. Sorry.
So I actually interrupted you. I don't know if you were
Me?
a while back, yeah. Did you were gonna say something and maybe not.
Glenn wanted to move on to something.
Yes, I was, thank you. Because we were talking about the June 9th, I was going to say there are other things on the agenda
That's what it was.
for
Yeah.
that June 9th meeting, and with, so we have, Mary's working on some bonding of some individuals, and one of them is going to be Angus, so we need to have a discussion about that, and that will be on that agenda, and you get the backup material for that, and this will be on the agenda. Mary, what would, because I know you're going to be taking some time off, what, if these two gentlemen or I would like anything additionally added to that agenda, when would you like to have it by?
Is that Wednesday? If it's a Saturday meeting?
No, you won't be here.
He said, when do you need the information?
Oh, I see.
No, we're not trying to make this a big thing, but I'm gonna put a deadline, it's gonna be more than 48 hours. So I think the biggest thing we need to do is this discussion, that's gonna come up with a big thing. And then something else came up today. Do you anticipate anything else you'd wanna add to that agenda that day? No?
With
No, I mean,
You either?
no, I mean, if I had something, I'd hold off to the 11th.
Okay, so that's the only two things on the agenda, so if you could get the backup material for both of
So it
those,
was the bonding and,
just the
Well,
goals and
Discussion.
priorities. Yeah,
Yeah.
discussions with Angus about goals and priorities.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to open the meeting at this time. I mean, the residents are going to come in at 10. That's not really a meeting, but we're going to be here.
You could start the meeting at 10 o'clock,
10 a.m.?
just in case anybody,
So you got to meet and greet, objectives, and bonding.
and that's it. So that's official, so
That
you-
way, we don't have to wait till 12. If no one's here, we can start at
Excellent,
11:30.
that's a great point. That's a good point. Okay, and we could start the meeting, and if people come in, he could meet them, greet them, and then we could get back to our meeting. Okay, so you can post it, get all the backup material done, there won't be anything else, and you can feel comfortable that's done, post it.
thank you.
Okay? Selectmen's summer schedule. So, with Angus starting, I don't want to do this as an ongoing thing, because I think we should meet every other week. You guys are easy. We used to meet every week.
I know, I remember.
So, I'd like to meet, I wanted to have this discussion early enough so we could make sure that we get out to the public that I'd like to meet only once in July and once in August. And then if we have to have any emergency meetings and so forth and so on, that we would have them, because the reason why we meet every 2 weeks, other than to conduct town business, is to make sure, well, signing the warrants, we have to do that and vote on them. But as of July 1st, Angus will be doing that, so it would kind of, that's what I'm proposing.
I think that that would be a good idea for next year, but with a brand-new town manager, he might need some direction and discussion from the board, acting as a board. I don't know.
So he starts, Mary, do you have a calendar in front of you? Or you want to do it on my phone?
He starts on the 2nd.
You want it?
He's here on the 2nd,
Okay, so what would it be our regular scheduled meeting?
the 9th,
Okay, and then what would it be after that?
23,
Yep, and then what would it be after that?
August 6th, August 20th.
So I would say do one on the 9th and do one on the 6th.
Well, that's
And if we
doing
have
what,
to-
that's doing what you just said.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
telling, yeah, and then if he has to have one, we'll have one on the 23rd, and we'll have one on the 20th of August.
I don't know,
What do you think?
I'd be in favor of having 4 and taking it off if we find it, if we don't need it.
What do you think?
I agree with Joe.
Okay, so keep the regular schedule. Next. Could somebody make a motion for the minutes, please?
I move to approve the minutes as amended for February 20th, 2018, February 24th, 2018, March 5th, 2018, March 19th, 2018, March 26th, 2018, and April 22nd, 2018.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded as amended. Mr. Archibald?
Nobody
I did.
Oh, you second it?
Do you have any questions?
No, good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Joe, can you get the amended minutes to Mary, please? You have amended
I
stuff?
don't-
You don't have
She,
any?
she has them.
They're in there.
They're in the mail.
Oh, those are
They're all
one?
printed.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I didn't know if you had some specific amendments that you wanted,
No,
that's why you did
no, I
that.
think actually,
Archie did. but
Archie
I have a
did.
question
Yep.
on one of them.
Okay,
Okay.
gentlemen, payroll and invoice warrants.
I make a motion to approve the payroll warrants.
second.
You have any, for discussion, do you have any questions, Archie, on those?
No.
Okay.
There's a couple signatures for the planning board, that's it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I move to approve the invoice warrant.
That's moved, and I'm going to second it. Any questions, Archie? Joe?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I couldn't find anything to sign.
Bummer. Follow up on meeting assignments.
Ooh.
Okay,
Who seconded the vendor warrants?
I did. So follow up on meeting assignments. I think when we went through the night, I think we gave all the assignments out. The only other one, Mary, could you please, am I putting you on the spot by asking you to review what we asked you to do, or you want me to go through it?
Nope, I have a letter from the Selectmen to Eastern Bank.
Yep.
Okay, excellent, because I have this down there. And how are you going to, who are you going to talk to put that letter up? Talk to Mike, talk to Lynn, because you don't even know, I'm
It
not
would-
saying that you don't know what to do, but I know.
I know what you're saying.
So,
The
so as long as you
accountant-
talk to, maybe talk to Laurie, and if you don't feel comfortable, give Tony a call.
Why, why don't you
Okay.
ask, instead of you doing it, your time is limited, I think you have a vacation coming up.
I do.
Why
thank
don't you ask the finance department to draft it and to give it to you?
Oh, I like that very much.
There you go, Joe, that's why you get the big bucks. Okay, the next thing?
Let me just write that
So
down.
I would give them an email, I would like an email trail on that, I just don't want it to verbal. So it's, the Board of Selectmen have been aware that there's been some issues, or whatever you want to call it, with Eastern Bank. We're asking you to, draft a letter, so the Board of Selectmen can send it to us, so we can.
And this letter is coming from us, so we should see it before it goes out.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah, without a doubt, okay? And hold on for 1 second, hold on,
policies.
hold on. I want it done, and I want that on the next agenda.
The letter
Yeah,
to sign that night?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I like to try to I'm going to try to put some deadlines on things, so that people have some objectives, and if those deadlines are unreasonable, then they'll get back to us and tell, hey, say, you're being a little bit unreasonable, we can't get it done in that particular time frame, or we'll have it. But that's what our expectations are.
So I will be on vacation next week, as you know, and so I'll send that to the finance. I don't know what kind of a response I'll get. It might come in next week.
Okay, so why
Well,
don't we, whatever. Why don't,
How long can it take?
yeah, I mean,
if they
Yeah,
can't get,
There's some
what do you-
staff that's out this
We're
week.
talking 3 sentences
wait a minute, what did you
here.
say, who's out?
Some staff is out tomorrow, back Thursday, and then,
They're going to a treasure collector luncheon or something? Or a meeting, not a luncheon.
new dog.
But
Oh,
all it is 3
That one.
sentences or 2 sentences to address to the
I just don't know when I'll get it back.
Mary,
and so if-
those are our expectations. If they don't happen, like I just said, then it will have to be pushed on to the next meeting. I don't want you to lose sleep on it, us to lose sleep on it, but I think everybody has to understand that we're not looking for Moby Dick. We're looking for a letter that we can present, and it should only probably take, 15 minutes to accomplish.
Excellent.
The next thing, please.
I've got policies moving forward. I got to share with the finance department our new policy and work on getting them on the website.
Okay, and if you could ask, when you're sharing that new receivables policy, if you could say that is effective immediately, and if they have any questions or concerns on being able to do that, they need to contact the Board of Selectmen. You
Well, I
see,
have Mike McCarron.
no, C, I'm gonna go back to Mike, but, so C, D, you have nothing, E, you have nothing, and then F, is the wage transfers that you're going to get from, Joe, and he is going to, then you're going to tell Laurie that we need those corrected and the questions that we have answered for our next meeting,
Yep, got that.
Our
Okay.
June 11th meeting.
June 11th meeting. Yeah, I'm sorry. When I say next meeting, I mean our regular scheduled meeting. The annual election policy, you're going to take care of that. The home consortium, you're going to find a letter for that. The outstanding objectives and goals and those type of things, we're going to take care of that, correct?
What was the last thing?
This is with the town managers list and so
Oh,
forth.
right, yeah.
Y'all going
Who's
to
going to
post,
send them to him?
Joe is.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah,
so when
I'll-
he sends them
as soon
to
as
us-
we receive
as soon
it,
as
I'll
we
send
get
it.
Yeah,
his.
and y'all going to post the agenda
Agenda.
and give us the backup material for the bonding stuff and that stuff, okay?
And I'll prepare the agenda for the 11th as well.
Yep,
That'll have to be posted while I'm out next week.
and Mike's gonna take care of that, right?
Posting. So you're going to be the keeper of it? Who's going to actually physically, you were going to do it with Mike? Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, she can send it electronically to me,
And then you can update it as need be, and,
so I can update it.
So she's going to have an agenda already posted.
No.
I mean, excuse me, she's gonna have an agenda, she's going to give it to Mike, and then Mike and I are going to work on it if it needs to be, anything needs to be updated to it, and then Mike will post it on, when it needs to be posted.
Okay.
That's our plan.
Okay.
So what I would like, if you want anything added to the agenda, send them to me and to Mike. And then Mike and I will discuss it. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay?
Can I just ask if the Arts Foundation will be on that agenda, our request that I sent to you?
You want to be? Yeah, sure, put it on.
Just the letter that I sent, we were hoping that Selectmen will take some action on that. You got back to me, but it was in the middle of the weekend, so you might have been a little busy. You said, sure, something like that.
Probably was. People call me, I try to respond so I don't forget, because I get 4 billion. So that will be on, is there any, why don't you, can you and I talk about that? Just to brief me on it, then we can have it on?
She just wants like a letter of support.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
We need, and our meeting is gonna be June 14th, I found out, so if it could be before then. for us to have
So I'm going to, I've learned something tonight, and I learned something from an individual named Joe. So why don't you put a letter together, okay, right, and email it to us, what you would like to see the selectmen say on this, and then we will discuss,
Want me to write the letter?
why not? Right? Or you right? That's what Joe just said, Joe, right? So why don't
I'm
you?
happy to do that, I just don't know if you have any objections, and I
No, but I'm saying, the thing would be that you would write the letter and present it to us and say, this is the letter that we would like you, the Board of Selectmen from West Newbury, to sign in support of this. And if you have some objections of something that's in this letter, then we can discuss that letter, and then we can make some edits, or we can say, no, we feel good with it.
Since I emailed you, can it go to the next meeting though, because I have a time crunch? You know what I mean, like, I don't
It's-
want it to be now I send you a letter and it starts the clock all over again with getting it onto the agenda.
No.
Okay,
This is going to be on our June 11th meeting.
perfect,
Eh.
this is my birthday, so I hope you guys will remember that. Letter.
Okay, this will be on our June 11th meeting.
Fine, thank you.
But if you don't present a letter and email it to me and to Mike McCarron to get on the agenda, or email it to Mary before she leaves, right? Then,
yes, please include me, because when I get back on Monday, I need to do the online
That's fine, I'll do that.
agenda.
okay,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you.
Okay, and then, Selectman Summers, okay, that's good, so let's go back to Mike. Mike,
Well,
what?
you're going to sign the transfers, you're going to give them to Mary.
I already did, it's already done.
You sign them, and she's going to
And she has to,
Those have to be given to the FinCom. They have to
notify the
know about
FinCom
it,
to
yeah.
sign them,
okay? That good?
to vote and sign them.
So that's everything there. I'm gonna go back to Mike. Mike, y'all going to get together with the DPW and, no, I'm sorry. The Plummer Springs Road.
Right.
You're gonna come back with us with something on the 2nd meeting of June with some recommendations that we possibly could do.
Well, there'd be two, for both Groveland, which I haven't
Yep.
looked at yet,
Yep,
and the other one.
but make that later in the month
Okay.
of June, okay? And then the other one is the health one. You, Gary, you're gonna get together.
So the first thing I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna review the regional agreement and
Yep.
lease
Yep,
to make like a short listing of the maintenance requirements as listed there. And then I'm gonna, I'll give copies to you guys.
mhm,
And then I'm gonna meet with Gary and Paul, and we're gonna try to take that list, and then put the actual specifics that are listed, that they want as
and then we're
under
gonna,
that.
and it should be in the form that was going to be something we're gonna send to the district.
Right.
So when it gets to us, it's gonna be, we're gonna look at it, and we're gonna approve it, or say some changes to it, but if we approve it, it's already in the form that we could send it out the next day.
Exactly.
Okay with you guys? You?
And we're gonna review that when?
You wanna, they said the second, you're gonna be taking over some stuff. Do you really want it to be on the 11th, or you want it to be on the next one?
No, we should have it, because that's the beginning of the fiscal year, and that will be able to kind of,
So you want it on the 11th?
not on the 11th, no, the one on the second meeting.
25th.
Okay, so let's have that on the second meeting. Okay? Is that all right with you guys? Okay? All right? Okay, so we're done with that. Anything for follow-up or future agenda items?
Okay. So can we get an update from the school building committee on the progress and what's being discussed, like let's talk about it a little bit?
The committee?
Well, from our representative.
Yep, okay. I'll have Brad come in and talk about it. That's probably better, but yep.
Okay, whatever.
Second meeting in June.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if right now is the time. I just feel, I don't know what's going on.
What's happening is that they're going back with the school building authority. We've whittled it all down to like 3 or 4 different, that you have to do a do-nothing project, a renovation.
Do nothing, which has a cost.
Yep, renovation which has a cost, a middle school, high school, a couple of different proposals there, and now the school building authority asked us to do just a high school, and design and stuff like that with cost to do it. So I think.
Does just a high school, do you incorporate, because the middle school, I don't know how old the middle school is. I know how old the high school is, but I know it's pretty old.
Mhm.
So if it's a high school only option, does that include like the do nothing for the cost of do nothing?
Yes, we plan on doing that. And we're gonna, and there is going to, and you're going to see the pitfalls in trying to put a high school there and not demolish the middle school and being able to use all that.
Yeah, because I really would wonder.
You'll have to have overlap sports fields, you might have to have some off-site.
I really would wonder the cost of the high school.
That's gonna be part of.
And do nothing middle school versus a combined middle high school.
I don't have those dates for you, Joe, but we're actually going to have some public forums to explain all of that.
Oh, good.
And I can have that for you for the next meeting.
Okay. No, Groveland records them usually, so I usually watch the videos.
Of what?
The school build, when there's public forums.
Oh, okay. They do?
Mm-hmm.
Groveland does?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. They record all the school committee meetings also.
I know that, but I'm at those meetings and there's no cameras there.
Not all of the school
Well,
building
the beginning
committees.
one, okay,
The
the beginning,
public,
yeah,
public
the beginning
meetings.
ones we did that.
The
but
public meetings.
We'll make sure that.
For the
it's not-
building
It's not
committee.
actually Groveland, it's the school district.
Or whoever it is.
I know,
It's on
you messed
Groveland
me up.
TV.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Well-
It's on Groveland TV, it's not on ours. Okay, so the second thing is,
So that's a
Could
shot
I
at.
ask one question since we're talking about the school?
Mhm.
The board instructed me to contact Mary Ann and
NAFTA.
question how to get, move forward with getting Angus
Angus,
on.
yep.
What committee was that? Was that
The
school
building,
building?
school building committee.
So she said she would forward that information off to the committee, and I have not heard back from them.
The committee?
That's what she said.
why would
It
you
has
do
to be
that?
forwarded to the school building authority.
No, hold on.
Or maybe it was the authority. I could be.
No, hold on. There, I'll look into it.
Thank you.
Because there was a process they sent us. I just never, remember that email I kept on talking about? When I became it, you have to fill it out, you have to have your home address, you have to have all these things on there, and then it goes into the building authority for them to say, okay, and it's more of just a procedural thing. They're not gonna say no to the
Maybe,
Yeah, they're not gonna say no to the finance director.
maybe she meant from the Mass School Building Authority, the process for a change.
They already have, they
I know,
already
I know,
know it,
I
because
know.
I was told of it at a meeting. So I'll figure it out.
Okay. Item 2, Hilltop Circle, when Forbes came in last meeting, I think you said you were going to follow up with Mike Guti and ask him to come into a meeting to talk about their construction plan. Could we schedule that for one of the first June meeting?
So they asked us to come to.
Or have you talked to Mike? I don't know,
Yep.
maybe, okay.
I talked to them the next day.
Okay.
They asked us to come to their meeting.
I can't come to their meeting because it's during the workday.
Okay. Could you schedule, we're going to talk about that on our June 20, the second meeting, please. And on our next meeting, we'll tell you how you're going to invite them.
And they might give us an update on the existing well field upgrade.
Yep, but remember that, so when we give instruction to Mary at our next meeting, about exactly.
I'll never remember that.
Okay, write that down. I'll remember it.
Somewhat.
Oh, that's a good idea. As soon as you said that, I kind of said, yeah, that's true, I'd like to know that too.
We can't invite them to the next meeting? No?
Let's.
Okay,
Because
okay.
she's gonna be out,
That's
it's
fine.
gonna be, no, let's.
Because the meeting after that, Mike Guti works for Angus. I don't know if that has any influence on it. He could invite Mike Guti. Whatever. Okay.
There's no time like the present.
Yep, I agree. Sooner versus later. So last thing is appointments. I didn't see it on tonight's agenda, and typically what we've done for every year, I've been a selectman, so the last 3 meetings of the year, try to divide them up, do most of the employees would have been done at this meeting, and then the 2 meetings in June, we kind of take the boards and committees and do half and half. So,
You ready? So Mary
I
hasn't.
would like to ask, before you, just ask Mary, have you had any much feedback from people saying they want to be reappointed or not?
Honestly, I haven't sent out emails to everyone at this point.
Okay.
No, that's why. that's why it's on.
But I have done
Fortune-
all of
employees.
the employees, and I've asked them to get back to me by June 4th. That was that write-up I sent out.
Mhm. So they're not getting back, so we're going to do it on, it's gonna be on the 11th.
So I didn't
It's gonna
realize
be
we
on
did
the
it in a
next-
two-step process.
okay. It's going to like be a lot of appointments.
It's gonna be a lot.
Okay.
But if I put together one report, you can just accept it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Accept the
We're not gonna
report
do
and-
line by line like we always do. We could do it quick. I have a new kind of a way, like, almost like how you did with the whole in one motion. We're gonna.
Actually, you know what we should do? We should have the list and have do it like we do the budget at town meeting. And I know your list has everybody, so like somehow highlight who's up for reappointment that has agreed to it. And we just go through and kind of put a hold on who we want to talk about.
On our next meeting, and then finish it on the last meeting.
Yeah, and then just vote the whole thing, discuss the people, whatever the position or the question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can do it all in one meeting.
No, we're gonna start it,
That's a good idea.
Mary had a plan to get back on the 4th. It's gonna be on the appointments are gonna be on the 11th and the 20, whatever the date is. That's what the plan was. Okay? And, would you have anything, Archie?
No. I just wanted the water thing.
Yeah.
Do I have anything, Mary?
Appointments June 11th, right? We're doing that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the next one.
And the following, right.
Yeah, because they got to be done.
Do you remember, Mary?
One thing.
Yes.
I did want to know, so what's happening with
Sticky note.
the DLS? When are they going to
Oh,
talk to us?
she
I'm surprised.
yeah, no, she said she got bogged down with some other town, and so it's delayed. Whatever delay date,
Yeah.
whatever delay date she gave me, I have it on my pop-up, so when that date comes. And if she's not ready, I will, before there's been just emails, now I will call her and be a little more pointed on, let's get here.
Okay, anything else? Mary?
Ambulance contract?
Thank you. So it's been brought to our attention that our ambulance contract is due to be looked at and negotiated. Generally, we have a policy in place that we talk to the fire chief. I don't know if you've seen the notes from Mary, and ask him how the present contract is going, if he likes to see any changes or changes to it, additions, subtractions. He says current contract, the way it's going is good. He doesn't see any things that he would want to change. So I would ask Mike to be able to make sure he draws something up of the contract and put it on.
So are we inviting anybody in if we have questions?
Do you have any questions?
I haven't seen it yet.
It's the same contract.
Oh,
Do you have any questions on the present contract?
I'd have to look at it then. I don't know, because I
Okay,
haven't
so
reviewed it.
we'll have it, we're gonna put it on for the second meeting in June, so,
I'd like to, you know how they used to send us the response times and.
how do you know they're not doing that?
I haven't seen any in
Neither
a
have I.
long.
When I first started,
When we
was the
asked
last
for it.
time I saw one was October 2016.
They only send them
So
when we
that's
ask.
a good question. So why don't you, Mike or whomever, could you please email us the current contract you have? Okay, gentlemen, this is what I'd like to talk about this also. I don't want the contract emailed to me. I just set up how we're gonna do this. I don't want to be part of any of the negotiation and/or talking about the contract. My son now works for this company,
Okay.
so
Do you have a conflict?
I have conflict, and I'm going to file. I'm going to file something with the town clerk that states that, and so I don't want to be any part of it. So if one of you two could take the lead on that, that'd be great. But I don't even want to be part of any of the questioning or any of that. Okay?
Yep, no problem.
But so, Joe and I, you can email, when you email it to us, I want to see it.
So the plan was.
Don't even email you.
I don't want to see it.
Okay.
So the plan was, I can talk about the plan as being the chairman, because I have to do the facilitation of it. But email it to them, get it from Mike or whomever, Laurie probably has it. If they have any questions, they will look at it, and then they will discuss it on our next meeting, so please put it on the agenda. And so they will discuss it, and so within themselves, so then they could ask somebody to come in at the next meeting if they have questions they want answered. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
At the next meeting?
Yeah, so.
Okay.
At the second meeting in June.
Second meeting.
So next meeting talk,
You
and
guys
then.
talk, so
and
you
then-
have questions.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
Mary,
fine.
Have they sent, like, Mary gave you some good
I
information?
sent out the current
Yeah,
contract
I got
today.
that, yeah.
You've
And
got
she's
that.
already talked.
I haven't read it, but I got it.
But she's already talked to Mike Dwyer, and so if you could ask Mike Dwyer, if he could come to our next meeting and discuss the contract with the Board of Selectmen, that would be good. Then you can kind of talk to him how it's working, and then you could kind of.
Ask me at the response times.
Yeah,
I'd
but
like
response
I'd
time,
just like to see
and
the response time
he's
thing,
he's the kind of interface with these people. So if you guys are unhappy with the contract, or they're not performing to the letter of the contract, because I think those response times are in that particular contract, then you can talk to him, because he's the one who talks to them, and we can get it all worked out. That sound all right?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Mary?
I'm all good. I'm good.
Mike? Good. Do you have any questions, press, alleyway press?
I don't think she heard you.
Jen, you have any questions?
I don't.
No, just before we close the meeting, I wanted to know if you had any questions.
Thank you very much, I'm all good.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn our selectmen's meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you for watching, and have a good evening.